man turned to the evaluator and eagerly asked to be told the result. He wanted to know about the talent of the main character. The main character's name was Aldgrim. No, he was only 5 years old, the eldest son in the family, and the evaluator said that his talent was decoding and no other talents were found. Aldgheims are an ancient line of magical aristocrats stretching through generations. They have raised outstanding wizards and sorceresses. Everyone was interested in Noah's results, the eldest son, who was undoubtedly destined to become the most talented. The father froze at the evaluator's words about his son's talent. His name was Aldgheim Hildegand, and he was the current head of the family. He asked if his son had neither offensive magic nor elemental magic. After that, the man shifted his gaze to his eldest son. He looked at him innocently and asked what had happened. Hildegand flew up to the main character, slapped him in the face, and declared that he was a disgrace to their family. The boy froze at these words. The father asked how he dared to tarnish their reputation. Noah, with a bruised face, tried to respond, but the man did not let him speak, told him to be silent, and added that he was not his son. After that, the man opened the door and left the room. The evaluator tried to call him by name, but he did not respond. When the door slammed, the main character began to cry and started apologizing to everyone. Some time passed, and Noah was walking down the corridor. He noticed a maid he wanted to talk to. When she saw that it was him calling her, she turned away and said she was very sorry. Since then, people turned away from the main character. He is convinced that it happened because of his father's order. He tried to behave well for his father's sake so that no one would feel hostility toward him. But no one still wanted to talk to him, so he began to disappear into the library. Reading distracted him from what was happening. One day, while reading a book, he suddenly asked himself how he manages to read such complex literature. Perhaps it is all thanks to his ability to decipher. After that, he began to visit the library whenever he could. Each time he came, he puzzled over which book to take today, since he had already read everything in this room. After some time, he went outside and sat near the house. Suddenly, he noticed a slab nearby. He became curious. He crawled closer to it and saw inscriptions in a language he did not know. Then he returned to the library and began copying onto paper the symbols he had seen. They seemed terribly complicated to him, and he did not understand at all what they meant. He approached the slab again and found a fragment of a translation. It said that on the reverse side, one needed to rearrange according to the indicated order. Thinking about the reverse side, he looked there and saw text that also needed to be deciphered. After a month, he finally deciphered all the symbols on the slab, and then arranged the books on the shelves exactly as was written. Almost immediately, the bookcase shifted aside, revealing a passage to a secret room. The main character froze in amazement. There were stairs, and he decided to look inside. Step by step, he descended the stairs, looking around. Suddenly, one lantern lit up by itself. He wondered if this was the shining magical stone mentioned in the book. Reaching the end, he saw before him a door with the same symbols as on the slab. But now he could read them. It was a hidden library, and he opened the door. When he stepped into the room, numerous large bookshelves opened before him. The room was spacious, and from what he saw, his face flushed red, and an admiring exclamation escaped his lips. The main character began running between the shelves and thought that although this place was underground, there was light here. He had not read any of these books, and they looked very old. Having walked around the entire perimeter of the room, he suddenly noticed. Separately from everything else on the table lay a book with symbols of the same language, and he approached it closer. The cover said that this book is the basics of ancient magic. He opened it and thought that it was some strange book. The main character began to read, but almost immediately realized. The text was quite difficult, and it seemed he would have to read for a long time. He thought he still had a lot of time, but then remembered his father's words that he was no longer his son, and then he began to tremble and sob from hurt. The main character sobbed uncontrollably and thought that the ability to decipher was a talent that his father simply dismissed. The ability to just read and understand various symbols in the modern world seems useless, but by deciphering them, one can overturn the very structure of the world. Because everything depends on symbols, but Noah does not know this, yet he still does not understand. The father told him that at 15 he would have to leave their estate, to which the boy replied that he understood everything. Then the man added that although he was the eldest son of the family, without magical talent he would not be able to become its head. The main character said that today was his last day in this mansion. He put the book on the table, and a cloak was thrown over his shoulders. Then he approached and said goodbye to all the staff, thanked them with a smile for everything, but they continued to ignore him, and he thought that by this time he was already used to it. Noah thought that despite everything, he never forgot to thank his service. Reflecting on why he did so, he concluded simply because he wanted to. He remembered how they talked with him. They were kind and helped. The hero needed what is natural for a person. After that, his face became determined. He thought that he himself wanted to behave the same way with someone. After some time, he left the estate onto the street, and at that very moment someone called him. It was Glenn, who said he heard that he was finally kicked out of the house. Noah greeted him. Aldheim Glenn was the second son in the family and the hero's brother. He was 13 years old, and the boy directly told the hero that he would be the next head. Glenn raised his hands in a victory gesture and proudly declared that, unlike Noah, he knew how to use offensive magic. He had the fire element. Every living creature has magical abilities hidden inside, but without talent they cannot be used. And modern magic is available only to the chosen. Here, even if you stand on your head, nothing will change for the main hero. Noah said that although they have different mothers, they are still brothers, so he would miss him. Glenn got angry because of his words and said he would not miss him, calling him a disgrace to the family, and also added that it was good that he was leaving the house. The hero instantly remembered his father's words. Someone like you is a disgrace to the family. Then he smiled and asked Glenn why he was smiling like that, and Glenn simply replied he thinks the same as their father. Moreover, his brother said that he was very stupid, so he annoyed him. He didn't even know how to use magic, so he turned to the flame and asked it to flare up with his magical ball. Glenn decisively clenched the formed fireball in his palms and announced that this was the first level of flame. Then the boy threw the ball to the side of the main hero. He thought that his brother had incredible magic, but not everything was so good, so he sighed heavily. Literally at that very moment, the main hero used his skill Splash, which completely destroyed the fireball created by his brother. Noah thought to himself, he had read all the ancient grimoires in that secret library, and all thanks to his ability. This is ancient magic, with the help of which one can decipher ancient symbols, but they are nothing like modern ones. One symbol can hide a bunch of meanings and incredible power, and understanding ancient magic turned out to be a real challenge. They tirelessly, day after day, unraveled the secrets of the grimoire. It took 10 years until the ancient symbols became a part of him, and he learned to create magic without words. Noah draws ancient magic from grimoires in their estate, and thanks to his talent for deciphering, and it seems, he can also influence modern magic. Glenn froze in shock when he saw this. He nervously shouted that it was nonsense and impossible. His magic was perfect, and the main character only suggested that maybe fire magic here was dangerous. The brother immediately asked him to be quiet, and he agreed. Then Glenn said that Noah didn't know magic at all, so he should get out of the house so they wouldn't see him anymore. After that, the boy rushed to the house. Noah thought that they never really got along. It was sad to part on such a note, but still, he could do nothing. It was time to go. If you think about it, the main character had spent his whole life just reading books. Now it was time to see with his own eyes what was written in them. But first, he needed to earn money to see the world. There was no other way. So he decided that the best option was to become an adventurer. Then he activated the skill Heavenly Walk and suddenly rose into the sky to continue his journey there. How far this magic would take him was unknown, but first he would head to the guild. Flying in the sky, he looked back at his former home. He returned to his father and thanked him for what he had done for him, and then flew away. At that very moment, Glenn with a wide smile opened the door of his father's study and called him, and the father asked what had happened. The boy joyfully began to tell that the main character finally left the estate. The man, it seemed, did not share this joy. He said that everything was clear to him. He said that much more important events lie ahead in a few days. Princess Claudia, the second princess of the kingdom of Razde, is to arrive, and Glenn must prepare to treat her kindly, to which he replied that he understood everything. When the boy left the office, the head of the family approached the window and looking at his eldest son whispered, "Do not hate me." He also added that the Aldgheim family does not need people without magical talent, and felt a great relief as if the family's disgrace had left the house. Meanwhile, the hero reached the trading district, looked down at it, and decided to just take another look. Noah was walking through the neighborhood streets, looking at the passers-by and the surrounding world, and smiling with admiration, said that life here is vibrant. The father took him with him only on Sito, a banquet at the castle, so he almost never left the estate, and at that moment, a vendor from the market district called him over and offered a sandwich. The hero considered the words, then hesitantly asked to give him one, and the seller replied that the deal was he would give 1 silver coin. Noah asked if he could pay for the gold. The boy apologized for the rudeness and inquired if he was really rich, to which the main character explained that it was simply all he had. The seller said he understood everything, after which he gave him the change, 99 silver coins and a sandwich, and Noah accepted them with a smile and thanked him. Then the smiling salesman said that he had already thought. The main character is one of Aldeheim's sons who ran away from home. The main character replied that he understood everything and thought to himself that he needed to hide quickly. Later he decided to go look for a guild. He approached one of the carts and asked where they were going, to which the cart driver replied that they were going to level up, and asked if he really wanted to go with them. The hero pondered his words. This territory is in the east, so he decided to go. After that, he handed the man coins, got into the cart, and thought that he had always wanted to ride in it. Inside, 3 men were already sitting. Noah gently greeted them and apologized for disturbing them, but they waved him off indifferently and said it was all right, after which the carriage moved. One of the men asked him why the main hero was in Lebelup, and he answered without hesitation that he needed the Adventurers Guild. He had to earn money. The same young man replied that he understood everything and that everything was going well there now. Noah noted that it had not always been so. People started by fertilizing the parched land. The stranger said that the hero was well informed, and then added that it had once been poor here, but a lot of time had passed since then. Few knew the history of the city, said the boy who called himself Edgar, and added that they were all traitors. Another man suggested that if Noah wanted, he could tell him about his youth, to which Noah agreed. The main hero thought, what is told firsthand cannot be found in books. To understand the essence, one must learn by oneself through personal experience. Noah smiled, thinking it was good that he was riding in a cart, but suddenly the cart braked and threw them all to the side. Additionally, the horse reared and neighed loudly. The coachman began to panic, and Edgar asked what was happening. Everyone peeked out of the cart and looked ahead. Another cart was standing in their way, but there was not a single living soul in it. At that moment, they saw a huge monster that roared at the top of its lungs. Edgar asked if it was a demon, then guessed that it had attacked another carriage. Another man shouted that it was a wind tiger, a Class A monster, although there were supposed to be Class D and E creatures here. It was strange. Then they noticed two people desperately fighting that monster. Edgar said they had already been fighting it. He felt sorry for the people in the cart, but they had to get out of there quickly. Everyone stood tense. The cart still did not move. Edgar swore loudly and demanded to be let through. If a fight started, there would only be more corpses. At that moment, the main hero said he would help those people, to which one of the men indignantly asked, "What are you even talking about? Don't joke, you'll only lose your life." Noah thanked them for their concern, but he could not act otherwise. After that, he jumped out of the cart and thought that no one had ever helped him. It was so hard that words could not describe it. At that moment, the main hero used a landing skill, turned to the men and told them to go ahead. Then he thanked them for the interesting stories, and the carriage moved on. And after a few moments, Noah approached the monster. It was gigantic, and such a strong wind was rising around it that it simply swept away everything in its path. The hero remembered reading in one of the books, Wind Tiger, master of aerial battles, so it was advised to keep him on the ground to limit his maneuvers. At that moment, the knight in armor noticed Noah. He was just hanging in the air. The knight shouted to the monster that Noah was here and let it come and take him, while thinking that first he needed to draw the tiger's attention to himself. Wind's tiger always accepts invitations to aerial combat. When the trick worked, he thought, great, now those people are at least temporarily safe. At that moment, the monster struck the hero, uttered a curse, and thought that he had never before used ancient attack magic in battle, but he had no choice. While he was thinking, that knight also rushed into battle, shouting that he must get him. He threw a sword at him. At that moment, the wind tiger was distracted by the attack, and the knight immediately swore, and the hero thought that his time had come, so he put his hand forward. After his attack, the wind tiger was torn apart. The knight and the girl were shocked. The girl thought that the purple fire attack was impressive, and Noah sighed deeply and said that it was good that he still managed. After that, the boy sank to the ground as if he had no strength left at all, and the girl turned to him and thanked him for protecting them. The hero stood up, apologized to them for being so late, and said he would leave, but the girl with a determined look asked him not to go. She said that she wanted him to thank her for saving them, but they were heading to the Aldgheim estate, after which she asked if he wanted to go with them. He realized that these people were going to his family, so he said aloud that he was in a hurry and could not. Their safety was the best thanks for him. Then the girl asked at least to say his name, and he, turning with a smile, said, "My name is Noah." The girl blushed at what she heard and repeated his name. At that moment, the knight said that the horse was safe and that they needed to move on. She turned to the man and said that it was good news, and at that moment Noah flew away. While the girl was distracted by the knight with their stripe, the main hero had already disappeared. She turned around and called him by name, but no one was nearby. The girl said that Mr. Noah seemed to be an outstanding magician. To herself, she thought that his face was strangely familiar. At that moment, the main hero flew a decent distance away. When he landed, it seemed to him as if someone had thanked him for the first time. He thought about how he considered his talent for deciphering a failure, but he managed to make it at least somewhat useful, and because of this, he was very pleased with himself. Finally, at night, the girl reached the estate, and the head of the family warmly thanked them for coming all the way to his home, to which the girl sincerely thanked him for the invitation in response. It turned out that this girl was the second princess of the kingdom of Raz de Claudia, and Glenn at that moment thought that she was so sweet that he had never seen such beauty, and that she should belong to him. At that moment, the father thought that if his son married Claudia, the family's position would become even stronger, so the boy should not let him down. The head of the family said he was glad to know they arrived without incident, to which the girl replied, "Honestly, that's not quite true, we were attacked by a wind tiger." At that moment, a knight interrupted the conversation and stated that if the princess had not wanted to leave the castle, this would not have happened. The girl replied that she was bored in the castle, that's the whole reason. After that, she realized that behaving like that was wrong, apologized to everyone, and said that a wizard passing by helped them with one strike of purple flame. He killed the tiger. The father pondered the purple flame. It does not exist in modern magic. He said aloud that he had never heard of it, although most great wizards know each other. The girl asked him if he knew their savior, and also said that he was very polite, with beautiful dark hair and a sharp gaze. This wizard's name is Noah. The father, hearing such a description, decided that it was impossible his son was so foolish that he did not know how to use magic at all, and he loudly said that he did not know such people. Then the girl asked him where the eldest son of the family was. Claudia also said that Mr. Noah was at a reception in the Razed Castle, to which the man replied that there was no Noah in their family, their eldest son was Glenn. At that moment, another person interrupted the conversation saying that he was also a fire wizard and even showed his flame, but the girl was offended by these words, and she coldly said that everything was already clear to her. She bowed low and said that the conversation about a marriage of convenience would have to be postponed. When she returned to the kingdom's capital, she would thoroughly sort out the affairs of the Aldgheim family. At that moment, the head of the family thought that if a rumor about the exile of the eldest son spread, the family's honor would be stained. The knight asked him to forgive the princess for her rudeness. The man replied that everything was fine, and thought to himself that he must find and return his eldest son before the princess arrives. The father turned to Glenn and said that he would leave the house for a short time, he must take care of himself. Glenn, stunned, asked again what was happening about his arranged marriage and his beautiful wife. After some time, the main character reached the territory of Vadesti, to the city of Lebelup, stood in front of the Adventurers Guild building, and it was clear that he was in shock. The boy went inside, apologized for disturbing them, and said that he first needed to register. Inside came the voice of a girl asking if someone could urgently go to the volcano. She also said that they had just found an S-class monster named Fafnir there, and Lady Serena was already there. She thinks she is taming the fire dragon. The travelers immediately asked if it was because of this monster that the kingdom of Razde was on the brink of destruction. Some began shouting that they urgently needed to hurry to help, while others confusedly asked how they could be useful at all. One man said that Serena was the strongest in the guild, to which the rest immediately flared up and argued with him, insisting that this was no reason to abandon her, and the girl herself admitted, "It was my fault because I gave the task." The main character thought that he had real problems, maybe he himself should go to that volcano and get that girl out of there. He said aloud that he would go and take Lady Serena. Everyone in the guild froze in amazement. The girl asked him what rank he was as an adventurer. He smiled and said that he had not registered yet. Suddenly, everyone fell silent. They refused him. The hero thought that he was not yet a real traveler, so their distrust and refusal did not surprise him. Meanwhile, people continued to discuss what was happening. Noah decided that everyone was in despair because of Lady Serena. She was definitely very important to them. If something happened to her, many would mourn her. Moreover, when she faced the S-class monster, she would have to confront it alone. He had to go for everything to succeed. The main hero clenched his fist and thought that the ancient magic had worked even on the Wind Tiger, and a class monster, and he was sure it would work the same on Fafnir. After that, he used the skill of teleportation, and instantly found himself near the Lebelup volcano, where at that very moment there was a tired girl. She was gripping a sword in her hands, ready to attack at any moment, and couldn't get rid of the thought, how did this dragon even get here? At that moment, the monster opened its jaws wide and exploded with a loud roar. She thought she wouldn't be able to defeat an opponent of such a level. But within a few moments, the main heroine appeared right in front of her. She whispered to her, "Are you Lady Serena?" The main heroine was shocked. At that moment, the dragon decided to attack with its flame, but the main hero created a barrier at the last second that protected them from the attack. They survived and were safe. He said that Fafnir was not for nothing an S-class monster. He could withstand absolute flame. Feeling the immense magical power, he strengthened the spell, but the fire's power was still insufficient. Serena asked who he was and how he ended up here, and the main hero replied that his name was Noah, and he dreamed of becoming an adventurer. The girl froze in shock. She thought about his desire to become a traveler. At that moment, the boy said he would first deal with the dragon. He rushed straight at Fafnir. She desperately tried to stop him, shouting that even an adventurer wouldn't cope with this monster, but he didn't even listen to her. After that, he lunged at the dragon. The dragon flew back several meters but was almost unharmed. He said that this monster couldn't be killed either. The effectiveness, as expected, was lower than against the Wind Tiger. The girl was shocked and asked if he was really a monster, to which Noah replied that he was very offended when she called him a monster, and then she asked if she really said that. Then Fafnir called him a human and asked what magic he possessed. First Serena and now him. The dragon had just awakened from the seal. The main character froze in shock, looking at the dragon. He asked the dragon if it was really him who was speaking to him. Fafnir chuckled quietly and said it was interesting. He did not think anyone could talk to him at all. The main character said that he himself was also impressed, apologized for attacking him so suddenly, and explained that they were not hostile, but the dragon did not believe him. Fafnir asked him if the words of that man could be trusted, then added that they had come to place a new seal on him. The main character explained that it was not like that. The girl who first rushed into battle came here to destroy the fire dragon, and he had already gone after her. Noah said seriously that he promised not to harm him anymore. The dragon asked him if he was telling the truth. At that moment, Serena sharply interrupted the conversation and asked if he was really talking to a dragon now. She admitted that she did not understand their language at all and immediately asked if it was the language of monsters. The hero realized that he had subconsciously switched to Fafnir's language and said aloud that they were speaking the ancient language. Noah said he had read in books that other types of dragons could only speak the ancient language. Fafnir asked again about the ancient language, then added that he had been a bit mischievous, because of that he was sealed for a long time. The dragon said warmly that it was good that the main character had a good heart and the ability to speak, and also added that he was herbivorous. After that, Noah turned to Serena and said that now everything was fine, this dragon was not an evil monster. And Serena, shocked, asked again if he was joking. She also said that even if he had no hostile intentions, the kingdom of Razday definitely would not leave such a monster alone. The boy agreed with her. Then he turned to the dragon and said that if it stayed here, others would probably come and seal it, so he offered it a contract as a minion. Fafnir asked again about the minion contract, after which he clearly explained, this deal would really be made between him and a human. The dragon understood that this contract would become protection for him, and so he asked the protagonist to make it. Fafnir said that to make him a minion, advanced lunar magic was needed, and asked if there was anything scary about it, to which the protagonist replied that everything was fine. After that, a huge seal appeared on the ground. Powerful streams of energy burst out from it. Serena froze in shock. The girl asked what was happening. A few moments after the smoke cleared, she asked what the main character had done, and he replied that he had made a minion contract with the dragon. The boy told the girl that now she could talk to him too. She was shocked and asked what he meant. And at that moment, Fafnir said that it was incredible. He became smaller. He said that the contract was made unexpectedly easily, and then added that Noah was still a monster. Serena asked in surprise if this tiny dragon was Fafnir, and the boy replied that the minion contract had shrunk him. He addressed the dragon and said his name, after which everyone else also introduced themselves to each other. The main character said that the dragon had changed so much that Fafnir was not recognized in the city at all, to which Fafnir himself replied that people would finally stop sealing him, and the girl, shocked, whispered that he was really speaking. Noah, smiling widely, said that it was cool he had friends. Fafnir laughed and added that a subordinate who calls him a friend was clearly a funny guy, and the girl meanwhile could not believe what was happening. After some time, everyone returned to the guild. The young administrator sighed with relief and said she was so glad the lady was alive. She apologized to her that all this happened because of her, to which she was told that everything ended well. The main character stood behind everyone. With a dragon on his shoulder, he looked intently at each person and smiled gently. After a few minutes, Noah and Serena went outside. Serena said she had already informed the guild she did not meet the dragon, to which Noah replied with relief that it was good and thanked her. She asked him where he was going to spend the night. The main character replied that he had not decided yet. He had little money, so maybe under the open sky he did not care. Serena pondered his words and then hesitantly asked if he would mind coming to her then. The boy asked again. The girl instantly blushed and blurted out that she did not mean anything like that at all. She just wanted to thank him for the help, and added that she had a free room at home. He asked her if she was sure about her decision, and she replied that she would treat him to food because she cooked well. Soon they found themselves in Serena's house. The main character ate the dish she prepared, said it was tasty, and Fafnir also confirmed his words. The girl told them not to be shy and to eat as much as they wanted. She even had more, to which the boy replied that he understood everything and thanked her. Serena returned to the stove and said that he still surprised her. First he appeared before her as if out of nowhere, and then blew away the dragon in one breath. The main character replied that he used ancient magic. The girl laughed and said she did not understand anything about it, and Noah added that it hurt him. Serena seriously asked if he really wanted to become an adventurer, and then advised him to go to the guild tomorrow morning and register. She, as the senior, would tell him everything. The hero thanked her, addressing her as Lady Serena, to which she said that he could simply call her by her name. She did not need these honors. The next day, the two of them came to the guild. He was handed a form and told that first he needed to fill in all the necessary fields. He agreed. And the female administrator also asked him if this little dragon was really his assistant. Fafnir silently sat on his shoulder. At that moment, the protagonist answered affirmatively, then turned to him and handed him a collar. He explained it was a collar with the sign of a servant's contract, so that people in the city would not mistake him for a wild monster. The dragon said that it was wonderful and then thanked him. The collar was already hanging on his neck. Serena said that it suited him. The protagonist quietly whispered that he had carved the rune of plasticity on the item so that it would not break when Fafnir returned to his original form. After some time, the administrator returned and apologized for the delay. The girl pointed to the door and said that now he needed to enter this room for a talent test. The dragon asked him what had happened because his magic suddenly got tangled, and he replied that he had bad memories of talent tests, but there were no other options, so they had to go there. The main character entered the room. There sat a man with glasses who said that he was an evaluator and his name was Carl. The hero also introduced himself, and they immediately got down to business. Suddenly, a light flashed on the table in front of him. Noah closely watched his every move. Carl asked if decryption was really his skill. The man said that he was surprised because he had a very rare talent, and the hero, stunned by this, asked him about it again. Carl explained that in 10 years of working here, a man with a talent for deciphering appeared for the first time, but he was poorly suited for the role of an adventurer, so Carl suggested finding him another job. The main character thanked him and said he did not need that. The man warned that the profession of an adventurer is full of dangers, so he asked him to be careful. After some time, they left the room, and Noah smiled with relief he was not called talentless. He said that Carl is a good person, and the dragon added that his talent cannot be ignored. After that, he went to the task board together with Serena. She said that since he has rank F, he should start by collecting applications. He replied that he understood everything. They chose one task. They have to go to the eastern forest and collect 10 medicinal herbs there. The recommended rank is F. The reward is 4 silver coins. Fafnir asked how much food can be bought for this reward. The hero replied that 4 sandwiches. And Serena said that this is exactly the place where everyone starts, and they should go straight to the eastern forest. After some time, they finally arrived at the place they were going to. The dragon said that to find that very plant in such a large forest, they would have to try hard. The main character smiled and said that they would not need much time, and then he activated his material detection skill. He said that this spell allows him to instantly determine where various materials are located. The dragon said that he is doing something unthinkable again. The main character replied that it is not him, but the creator of this ancient magic who crossed the boundaries of imagination. Fanfare said that Noah is also an unusual person and knows how to use it, and at that moment they found the herb. They quickly returned to the guild. Serena and the administrator were stunned. He brought a whole basket of healing herbs. He explained that besides medicinal herbs, he also collected others that he considered useful. Serena said that for some reason she was not surprised. After this, they went with the herbs to the appraiser Carl, who exclaimed in shock that he couldn't believe it so much and so quickly. Holding a magnifying glass in his hand, he carefully examined one of the plants and said that even the rare panacea and magical herbs were in perfect condition. Carl said that the main hero brilliantly coped with the first quest task, to which he thanked him for the praise. He said that he could not even imagine that such a result could come from a person with the talent to decipher. Even his eyes, the eyes of the appraiser, were blind here. The hero admitted that he was still a complete novice, and Carl smiled. They say a novice can wander for half a day searching for medicinal herbs, after which he asked if he had already decided which quest to take next. Noah initially refused, then the man said he had one task he would like to entrust to him, to which Noah replied that he would gladly agree. The main hero looked closely at the piece of paper. It was written that he needed to go to the eastern forest to collect one magical flower. The recommended rank was B, and the reward was 5 platinum coins. Carl said that magical flowers were an ingredient of the elixir of life. Noah asked if this was really the same one rumored to cure all diseases. The man answered affirmatively. The main hero wavered with doubt. The rank was too high. He admitted that as far as he knew, he could only take an E rank now, to which Carl calmly replied, "Don't worry, if you fail I will pay compensation." The man said that his daughter was tormented by an unknown disease, and it was visible he was very worried. He said that he had consulted all the doctors and even leveled up, but no one could help, so the only way to save her was to use the power of the elixir of life. The man said that he had already obtained the panacea. He needed holy water and mermaid's tears. But all searches for the magic flower always ended empty-handed. Once it was considered a rare plant, found several times a year, but in the last couple of years no one has even seen a single one. And now Mr. Noah showed such results, maybe he will be the one to find it. Carl said that he is the client of this quest, so he hoped that the main hero would not refuse to help. The latter replied that he understood everything and agreed to take on the search. The man sincerely thanked him, and it was then that the dragon asked him if it wouldn't be easier to cure that disease using ancient magic. The main heroine explained that diseases are more related to medicine than magic, but she can still handle some of them. The boy turned to Carl and said that he would first like to check the daughter's condition, to which Carl replied that it was fine. As soon as he finished work for the day, they would go to his house. At that moment the guild doors suddenly opened. A stranger approached Carl and said that something bad had happened. Something had happened to Lady Carla. The man was terribly frightened. After some time they arrived at Carl's house, and he addressed his wife by name, called her Sarah. She shuddered with surprise. They approached the daughter's bed. The man asked Sarah what had happened to the girl. Sarah explained that Carla suddenly fainted and did not regain consciousness. The doctor asked what the cause was because her body looked fine externally. The main hero looked intently at the girl, and suddenly something flashed in his mind. He asked to speak. At that moment the doctor asked him, "What are you doing? We have an emergency, don't distract him." He said that the girl has the syndrome of magical meridians hardening, but the main hero did not listen to him. This disease disrupts the ability of the channels through which magical energy flows. Everyone was stunned. The main hero said that this power constantly pulses in the bodies of living beings, regardless of whether they know how to use it. Then he stretched out his hands to apply it to the girl. He said that now only a tiny spark of energy flows through their daughter's body. The disease is more magical than medical, so it is not surprising that no one knows the cause. Carl asked if he could cure her, and the hero replied that he is now pouring his energy into her to temporarily ease the symptoms. But for true healing, the power of the elixir is still needed. Noah said that he urgently needs to go to the forest to look for a magical flower, and Serena replied that it will soon get dark and it is dangerous to go alone, so she went with him. Carl said that he has no magical search tools. The main hero immediately asked again, and the girl explained that such tools can be taken for high-difficulty quests. She also added that no one knows how long it will take to get the manager's permission. Noah said that waiting is impossible. He will manage without any tools. They will find the magical flower. At the same time, Carl bowed his head and sincerely thanked him and Lady Serena, and Sarah also asked them to be careful. After that, the main hero and the girl went outside. He decided to use a spatial transition to the forest and asked her to hold on tight. She agreed, and they teleported. Now to find the magical flower, they need to run through the forest with the material detector turned on. He asked if she minded running and she agreed. After that, they both quickly ran through the forest. The magical flower, as its name suggested, was supposed to bloom in a magical place. The dragon said that these lands have been home to fairies for hundreds of years, but strangely he does not see any now. Serena guessed that maybe they had moved to another place, and the dragon replied that he doubted it. Fairies are used to living in solitude and could not leave their cozy forest. Fafnir said, if we consider that flowers are grown by fairies, and recently they stopped growing, then maybe someone took the fairies. At that moment the girl said she felt something, and the dragon replied that her sensitivity was extraordinary. After that the whole group froze in place. The dragon flew off the main hero's shoulder, and the girl began to draw her sword and shouted that the enemy was approaching. At that moment, a huge monster with a piranha head and a trident in its hand burst out from the side of her, and the girl instantly deflected its strike with her sword. Serena, with one sharp sword strike, cut the monster's torso. The upper part flew into the air, and she turned to Fafnir. The dragon said that he would handle everything now and immediately unleashed his fire on that monster. The main hero watched their coordinated work in shock. He told them that they were wonderful and that they had perfect, coordinated teamwork and did not even notice the monster lurking there. Serena sighed and said that Noah was truly a traveler, a novice, to which Fafnir agreed and added that there is a huge gap between skills and real combat experience. Serena asked him how the search for the flower was going, and the protagonist replied that he felt a faint response. After some time they approached a pond. The girl asked him if it was really a lake. Noah pointed with his hand at the pond. The main hero said that the magical flower's response came from the very bottom of this lake. The girl, shocked, asked if it was true. She even asked why it grew exactly there, to which he replied that magical flowers are not aquatic plants, and he himself thought that magical energy was still concentrated right there. Serena sighed. In any case, there was no choice. She did not like swimming, but what could be done? The hero told her that he would go and see what was there himself and instantly took off into the air, while the girl rushed to stop him. Then Noah activated the skill air cover, as if wrapping their bodies along with the dragon in a barrier, and in a moment he and his assistant splashed into the water. The girl, watching them, said that everything was clear. The main hero was in his usual style, and the latter was already at the bottom of the lake. After a few moments, he found himself face to face with some unfamiliar object. The dragon asked what it was, and the hero replied that it was a spatial rift, a type of ancient magic. He added that in simple terms, it allows free movement to wherever it leads and back. Fafnir felt a faint breath of fairy magic, and the main hero also said that the response of the magical flower was coming from it. The dragon added that only fairies are incapable of such magic. They clearly did not go on their own. Someone took them. The protagonist looked forward resolutely. Then he decided to touch that gap, but it seemed to move toward the touch. Noah said that there was a barrier here, and it puzzled him a little, to which the dragon replied that he would destroy it. After that, Fafnir flew a little to the side and breathed fire. The main hero said that nothing worked, and the dragon replied that it was all because of the water since they were here. Noah asked to be given a minute. He would try to remove it himself. The boy stood before him, and magical energy sparkled in his palms. The hero thought he had handled the barrier well, but he could still do it. In a second, he really broke through the barrier. The dragon addressed him by name, said that he unexpectedly had the chance to gain combat experience, and asked to find out where the monster was hiding now. The main hero paused for a moment focused, and said that now he understood everything the monster was definitely behind. And when they turned together, they were overwhelmed with great surprise. A huge sea serpent appeared before them. The serpent stretched out with an incredibly long body. The main hero asked in surprise why it was in a freshwater lake if its natural home was the sea. At that moment, the monster said it had slept so well and peacefully, then asked what the man had forgotten underwater at night. The hero suddenly realized that the serpent also spoke the language of monsters, and aloud said that he had come across another monster that speaks. The serpent warned that if he did not deal with the uninvited guest, the spirit of darkness would be displeased. Noah thought about the spirit of darkness and loudly asked who it was, to which the monster replied that it was unknown even to itself. But it was better not to tease it. It appeared out of nowhere and pulled him out of the sea. The main hero sincerely thanked him for sharing with them. The monster jumped up in surprise and asked if a human could really talk to him. Nella replied that humans had been able to do so before. That is how decoding works. The hero looked seriously at the monster and said to Tom, "I try to avoid unnecessary quarrels, so won't you just let me pass?" The serpent asked if he really asked to be let through, after which he refused and said he would rather eat him here. Fafnir noted that apparently he had a bloodthirsty nature, unlike his own. After this, the main hero used the skywalk skill and rose higher, so he managed to break free from the suffocating snake attack. At that moment, the dragon jumped off his shoulder and told him to go look for the flower. He would deal with this enemy himself. The main hero tried to argue with him, but Fafnir asked if he really wanted to save this girl, and if so, to hurry, her body would not last long. After that, the boy sincerely thanked him for the help, and created a separate barrier for the dragon so that he could breathe freely underwater. The main hero said that Fafnir was now in the air curtain. Fafnir replied, "Rely on me," after which they parted ways. At that moment, the snake opened its jaws and grimly declared that Noah would not pass by him. He was already about to eat him when the dragon released fire into the sky and ordered him not to interfere. The main hero said that he would leave the rest to the dragon. The magical flower should be beyond this spatial crack. The boy said that he did not know where it led, but he would definitely get the magical flower, after which he dived straight into this crack. After a few moments, he spun in the air. Something like strange patterns swirled around him, and suddenly he found himself on the ground. The main hero got up, looked around, and asked if it was really somewhere here. The sun was shining brightly in the sky. The boy looked closely at the sky and whispered that he saw daylight. He thought with surprise whether he had been teleported so far that the time zone suddenly changed. The main hero felt that something was wrong here. This space was created by magic, and suddenly a cry sounded nearby. The stranger woman cried bitterly and said that everyone had been captured. There were abrasions on her body, and large tears were streaming down her face. The girl said she did not know what to do, and the main character looked at her and thought that she seemed to be wounded. Then he applied his healing skill on her. The girl shuddered. He immediately apologized for frightening her and explained that he had simply used healing magic. The stranger blushed and said she was grateful to him. The main character said his name was Noah and that he was a young adventurer. It turned out that she was a fairy. Asked her if she was really a fairy. She answered yes, and then she herself asked if he was really human. The main character also answered her affirmatively, sat on a stump, and said that his talent was deciphering. The fairy said she understood why he could talk to her even though he was human. The boy replied that he believed so himself, and she added that at first they, the fairies, lived in the Lebelup forest. But suddenly an evil spirit of darkness appeared, captured them and locked them in this space, and they tried to break free from him in vain. Everyone except her is held in prison near that huge tree. Noah asked why the spirit of darkness needed them and what he was going to do with them. The fairy replied that she did not know herself, and then asked him why he was here at all. He desperately answered that he really needed to find a magical flower to heal a sick girl. The fairy replied that magical flowers really do grow here. She sat on his head and with a serious expression said that there were some problems. Then they went to the tree and saw that a cage for fairies was hanging on it. The main character looked at that scene and said it was terrible. He immediately rushed there to save them, but the fairy stopped him and warned that if he went further, he would be attacked. And suddenly a golem appeared before them like an unshakable guardian, and the fairy said that he would guard this place while the spirit of darkness was absent. The main hero said, it seems he needs to save the fairies and collect magical flowers, but first defeat him. After that, Noah assured her, don't be afraid, I will definitely free your friends, and at that moment they were watching him attentively. The main hero asked her to temporarily hide somewhere safe. The girl hesitated, agreed, thanked him, and quietly added, be careful. After that, the boy turned to the enemy and thought that he could only defeat him by rewriting the ancient symbols carved on his chest. But first he needed to wound and immobilize him. While he was devising a plan to deal with the enemy, the latter suddenly rushed at him. In this attack, the enemy trampled on a magical flower with his actions. After that, the golem lunged into attack and swung his hand, but the main hero skillfully used his ability and threw the sword into the air. The boy thought to himself that it was not in vain that he had engraved the ancient sign of protection on his cloak. The power of Golem's attack was not childish at all. He was very high level, and he should not take another such blow. After that, the main hero used the trajectory change skill and flew around the enemy, describing a triangle. He placed magical seals at all the corners, then stood behind one of them and activated the skill Absolute Flame. A purple blade burst out from it. But just a few seconds later, when the effect disappeared, he saw that the golem was standing as if nothing had happened, and a doubt flashed through him whether the Absolute Flame had no effect. After that, he decided to use his skill Magic Shot, a fairly powerful move that is supposed to harm the enemy. At that moment, the fairy peeked out from behind a tree and watched him closely. But as soon as the smoke cleared, the golem had already returned to the fight. He swung his hand to strike the main hero, and he thought, "This is bad." The boy did not have time to dodge. The enemy's fist hit him, and he flew a good distance. Only then did he realize that this golem was made of mithril. He crashed his body into a huge boulder, small cracks spread around, and he remembered mithril, an ore that is immune to magic. Spells can pierce it, but even ancient enchantments are useless. Here they use the highest quality mithril. This giant cannot be defeated by magic. After that, the golem was again next to the main hero and again swung his hand to strike. Noah realized that things were going badly, decided to try spatial teleportation, but it did not work, and the monster's fist was already looming over his head. At that moment, the blow literally knocked him off. His whole body jolted from the impact. The boy clearly felt pain and flew far back. The main hero lay on the ground, clothes in tatters, body covered with bruises and abrasions. He looked at the golem and thought about how to defeat it. He thought about how to erase the symbols on the chest without turning himself into a moblin, but in the end he told himself, "It won't work, there is a solid barrier there." The main hero thought that he could not get out of here until he defeated the golem. He failed to save the fairies and did not deliver the magical flower to Carl. The boy thought that if he had combat talent, he would have found a way to defeat the enemy without magic, but he only had decryptions and ancient spells. After that, Noah got up and realized, even if they did not work on Golem, he had no other choice but to defeat it. Barely standing on his feet, the hero created a magical seal, after which he decided to use his skill Absolute Flame, and also created several more magical seals. He decided to change the formula to enhance the power of ancient magic. He would give all his strength to this, but it would break through his magical defense. The main hero felt that he needed to understand the ancient symbols to embed magic in each of them deeper than ever before. After that, Noah stretched out his hand in front of him. Despair froze on his face. He thought he would have to plunge into the abyss itself. He would definitely return to Carl with the magical flower so as not to lose in such a place. The boy was very determined. But as soon as he decided to use his power, the space in her eyes seemed to double, and a small tongue of flame burst from her hand. He did not understand what was happening. Noah felt his head spin and the world swim before his eyes, and suddenly it dawned on him that his magic reserve was exhausted. Then he began to fall backward. At that moment, the golem let out a deafening scream, then approached and loomed over the main hero with its entire body. The latter was sitting on the ground. Blood was flowing from his nose. He had no strength to resist. The fairy was shocked by what was happening. The boy thought everything was bad. He was losing consciousness. And suddenly he heard the rustle of paper and immediately wondered what that sound was, because it reminded him of pages turning. When the main hero opened his eyes, there was a huge book before him. He was hanging in the air and wondering where he was and where the column of guards was. He turned his gaze to the book and thought that its lines were too ancient and confusing. There he read about composite material and mithril. Thanks to numerous formulas, the magical protection was brought to the limit, and something about a wizard and a spirit of darkness flashed by. Suddenly, the hero seemed to regain consciousness and wondered why there was so much information about that golem in this book, and he rushed to flip through the pages to learn as much as possible. It seemed to him that she radiated incredible magical power, as if ancient magic lived within her. Indeed, her body seemed to be enveloped in magical energy from head to toe. He raised his index and middle fingers. Magic played around them, and a thought flashed through his mind. If this was really so, then maybe he could rewrite her formulas. Then he began to move those same fingers over the pages of the book, reading about how to change the natural properties of mithril from anti-magic to those that facilitate the passage of magic, and his eyes seemed to be covered with a haze. After he read this information, the book suddenly closed. He did not even expect this. The title was written on the cover, Book of Peace. Over time, through his confused consciousness, a voice began to break through, calling him by name. It was a fairy, who with her little hands was pulling at his clothes and begging him to wake up. It was clear she was struggling. The main hero, not yet fully conscious, asked what was happening to him. The fairy immediately called him by name, frightened, and later, he fully came to his senses and asked if he had really fainted. When he looked ahead, a golem was standing before him, roaring loudly again. At the same moment, the fairy swore it would have been better if this had not happened, and at the same time she was carrying Noah on her back. After some time, they flew away to a sufficient distance. The girl confidently said that now he definitely would not catch them. The main character said that she saved him from the monster while he was unconscious. The boy smiled at her, thanked her, and said that now everything was fine. The girl was very tired, saw him retreating, and with tears in her eyes began to shout for him not to do that. The main hero thought that he had a little magic left, and even the most powerful absolute flame did not affect him. It was clear what powerful thoughts were raging in his head. The fairy kept repeating that Mr. Noah needed to come to his senses, and that they had to run, but the boy was very stubborn. He had already decided everything himself. The main character froze and looked at the golem. He wondered whether what he had seen in the book was really a dream, and whether the world book itself was nothing more than a dream. The boy thought that he had never read or heard about such a thing. At that moment he used the skill air cover, which he had already used on the fairy, and she was surprised by his actions. The girl asked what it was, but the main character was silent. Only one thought was spinning in his head, whether she could really make his magic work on the golem. He closed his eyes and said no, he would not be able to do it. It is impossible to change the foundations of the world so easily. He stretched out his hand in front of him and relied only on the world book, praying that everything would be fine, even if his magical resistance had slightly decreased. Having said these words, he aimed a strike directly at the golem's chest. He carefully watched the movement and thought that it would be enough just to scratch the ancient symbol on its chest. But everything happened completely differently than he imagined. The monster in front of him shattered into pieces, and from his blow a huge hole opened in the center of the chest. The boy froze in shock. The fairy, who was watching what was happening, smiled widely and said that it was incredible. The main character could not believe his eyes. The changes in the book were reflected in reality. He dropped to one knee and thought that the keeper golem was completely neutralized. He looked at the remains of the enemy and assessed how much valuable mithril was there. The main character thought for a moment about where such power originated in the world book, then said that now was not the time to think about it. He decided that for now all the golem's remains would lie in his inventory. He stretched out his hand and, using the skill, began to suck all the remains into the storage. The main character, with a determined look, said that he finally understood this, after which he shifted his eyes to the cage with the fairies. In a moment he approached, took her off the tree, and with bare hands tore her from life so that the fairies could fly out. They looked at him with distrust because he was a stranger to them. When all the fairies flew out of the cage, a girl flew up to them and, pressing her palms to her heart, said that she was so glad everyone was safe. And the fairies smiled at each other and joyfully celebrated their rescue. The girl turned to the main character with tears in her eyes, spoke his name and thanked him with all her heart. One of the fairies asked her if he was really a man, and the girl said that there was no need to be afraid because Mr. Noah was very kind. It was then that the main character glanced at the tree trunk. A new spatial rift had formed nearby, quite large. He looked closely and thought that now he could leave here. At the same time, his entire face and clothes were covered with dirt. He remembered his initial goal and told himself that he only had to collect the magical flowers. After that, he fell to the ground and immediately began to search. The main character's face was very focused. He combed through all the grass in search of his goal, and the fairies also closely watched his actions. The main character returned to one of the flowers. It was broken. He cursed and began to look for others, but realized that they were all broken. Holding one flower in his hand, he bitterly thought that the fight with the golem had dragged on too long and said, "All is lost, I won't be able to make the elixir." Despair froze on the hero's face. He looked at several flowers, all were broken, not a single whole one remained. He shouted that without that flower he would not be able to save Carla, asked why damn it he ended up in this space at all. And after that he helplessly fell to his knees, resting his palms on the ground. The familiar fairy was upset because of him. She called him by name. Other fairies were also watching what was happening in the clearing. Later night came, countless stars shone in the sky, and the head of the slain serpent lay on the ground. Serena stood nearby, holding a sword in her hands. Fafnir stood next to her and said that he was sweating because of this monster, and the girl added that the serpent was suspiciously strong. She suggested that this spirit of darkness seemed to have fueled it with its magic. She hopes that the main hero is okay there. The dragon said that the spatial rift disappeared as soon as he passed through it, so now he can't even catch up with them. Among the monsters there are some on which magic does not work. Fafnir thought that maybe he was wrong to let him go alone. He cursed himself and thought what a lousy familiar he was. At that moment the main hero appeared behind the girl. He was alive, apologized to them, and said he was late. Serena shuddered with surprise and fear. Then she asked the boy how he was, if he was safe, to which he replied that there was a small scratch, but it was already over. Fafnir said he knew he would return whole. The main hero said that he got out through this spatial crack. At the same time, Serena looked at him carefully, quietly giggled, and said she understood everything. Suddenly her face changed, became wary, and the girl asked about the magical flowers. Did he manage to collect them? The main hero lowered his head. Sadness appeared on his face. He apologized to them and said that he did not understand them. Serena instantly asked what he meant. and he just waved his hand and said that everything was fine. The girl clearly did not understand. After which Noah turned to the dragon and, apologizing for such a request, asked him to lift them onto himself. The dragon nodded in response and calmly explained that it would cause him no problems. Noah thanked him and bitterly admitted that his magic was exhausted and there was not enough left for a spatial transition. After these words, he and Lady Serena sat on Fafnir's back, and all together they flew into the sky. The girl looked around warily. She was clearly afraid and clung to the boy so as not to fall. At that moment, the dragon turned to the main character and asked if everything was really okay, that they had not obtained the magical flower, since the whole journey was for its sake. The main character smiled and said reassuringly that everything was fine, then turned to the stranger and added that he could leave. The dragon was kind, so there was nothing to fear. Then the boy asked if he could ask him for a favor, and Fafnir inquired with whom he was corresponding and what strange language he was speaking. Soon in the house of the Carla family, the man together with his wife and doctor stood by their daughter's bed. The woman was squeezing her hand. She was lying there, still unconscious. The father anxiously called his daughter Carla and asked her to endure a little longer. The mother was also frightened and called her by name. The girl had a fever. Drops of sweat ran down her face. Carla assured that everything would be fine. Mr. Noah would definitely return with the magical flower. At that moment, the girl opened her eyes and called her father. It was clear that she had no strength at all, but she barely smiled and said for them to look. There was a fairy in the room. Carla asked his daughter what she was saying. It was clear that her words frightened him. He asked her to just hold on. Everything would change soon. At that moment, the girl's mother raised her head. She became curious about what her daughter was talking about, and she was surprised. She turned to the man, clearly upset by what was happening. He asked her what had happened. Then the man also quickly raised his head, and at that moment he was a little stunned by what he saw before him. Right above everyone, almost touching the ceiling, a tiny fairy was indeed hanging in the air with wings and in a strange costume. The girl addressed Carla by name, smiled, and asked if that was really her name. The fairy sits on the bed, and the girl's parents look in admiration at the tiny creature with transparent wings. Carla looks at the fairy and she, smiling, looks back in response. She tells the girl that the time of miracles has come and asks her not to forget to thank Mr. Noah. The fairy addressed Carla's parents and assured them that from now on everything would be fine. The girl's father could not believe his eyes. It seemed to him as if it were all a dream. Countless fairies hover over the night city in beautiful dresses, with flower bracelets on their feet. The dark sky shines from the light pouring out of the windows of the houses, like summer fairies who talk and laugh. Carlos's father looks out the window and sees hundreds of lights in the sky, like tiny fireflies. Fairies flying straight to Noah and his companion. A dragon named Fafnir, perched on Noah's shoulder, notices that where the fairies live, magical flowers grow. Noah is stunned. Fairies appeared in the middle of a crowded city, and he assumes that magical flowers are to blame for everything. The young man is convinced that he saved the fairies trapped in a spatial crack, and they decided to repay him to help him. The dragon looks at the fairies flying in the sky, thinks that another trait of Noah's talent is the ability to decipher foreign languages, and says that for the hero there are no racial barriers. He concluded that this is what should be expected from the one who made a servant contract with him. Noah asks Fafnir what he is mumbling and exclaims that it is time to start making the elixir. Ingredients appear on the table, and next to them the elixir itself in a glass vial. Happy parents tightly embrace their daughter Carla-chan. She suffered from the magical meridian hardening syndrome, but finally recovered. The girl laughs with joy. The heroes are satisfied with the completed task. The girl's father addresses Nella, and not knowing how to thank him now, bows his head and sincerely thanks the young man several times. Noah asks him not to lower his head. The hero sincerely rejoices that everything is now fine with Carla. The father tells his daughter that Noah cured her of the disease. The girl sincerely thanks him, and the young man smiles. The head of the family turns to his wife and Carla. Noah painfully thinks about how his mother died shortly after his birth, and his father never loved him, so he sees a lot. Deciding that further disturbing the family harmony would be impolite, the young man tells everyone that he must leave. Carlos's father, with a friendly smile, asks Noah to sit with them for dinner if he doesn't mind. The hero says that Carla needs to recover from the illness. The girl replies that she no longer feels any discomfort and even feels better than before the illness. She wants a hamburger. Carla's family invites Lady Serena and others. They agree because everyone insists. Fafnir warns that despite his appearance he is herbivorous. They offer him white apples and the dragon loves them. The fairy states that she is also interested in human food. Noah is surprised that she is still here. She flies up into the air right in front of them, and everyone laughs joyfully watching her. Noah thinks that this is a real family. Everyone gathered around the generously set table, ate delicious dishes, and talked lively. Rank B quest to collect a magical flower completed. Noah says that he surrounded the entire forest with a barrier, and now no spirit of darkness will penetrate again. The fairies say that this is exactly what they expected from Mr. Noah. The fairy sincerely thanks the hero for everything he has done for the fairies, and says that Mr. Noah is now like the embodiment of a deity for them. They bow as a sign of gratitude, and Noah shyly laughs. The boy waved goodbye to them, and the fairies asked him to return to their forest again. Mr. Carl thanked Noah for diligently completing the quest and congratulated him on his promotion to rank E. The hero thanked him in return. The man hands the young man a reward from himself, 5 platinum coins and a small box, as promised. Noah says he cannot take them, it's too much, and asks to use them for the future Carlos. The man replies that he has already used them exactly for that. The girl's father takes Noah by the hands, looks him in the eyes, and asks, "Do not refuse the reward, you have earned it." A crowd of people gathers in front of the building. The young man notices that many people have gathered today. Serena says that, if she is not mistaken, a famous archaeologist from Ludolf, the capital of the kingdom, is supposed to arrive. The girl adds that they need an adventurer who will go with them to explore the ancient ruins in the east. Noah asks again about those ruins. She sees that the young man is interested after all. He himself uses ancient magic. An unknown girl shouted loudly about her despair. She says she came from afar from Ludolf, but even here she is surrounded by ordinary adventurers, and she needs a person with a truly extraordinary talent. Mr. Carl advises her to take a closer look at Noah. He introduces her to the hero as a very promising newcomer who recently became an adventurer. The girl looked at the young man and asked what rank he was and what the little dragon on his shoulder was. Noah, smiling, tells her that he just reached E rank, and the little dragon on his shoulder is his familiar, with whom he made a minion contract. The girl turns away from him and declares that he is a scoundrel, and Mr. Carl is shocked by her decision. She insists E rank is not even considered a group of B level, or at least C is needed. The man assures her that Mr. Noah has experience in completing B rank missions, and the girl thinks he was just lucky. The boy asks Mr. Carl not to try to convince her. Mr. Carl is sorry to hear this, but he can do nothing. Lady Serena firmly stands up for Noah, explains his low rank by the fact that he is just a new adventurer, and asks if he has a chance. The young man stops her and calls her by name. It turns out the girl knows Serena, and she is also an A-rank adventurer, which surprised her very much. The girl says that in Ludolf there is even a fan group for her because she is the youngest A-rank adventurer and an excellent swordswoman. Noah says that Lady Serena is indeed incredible. The heroine replies that it's nothing. The girl says she would very much like to take her as an escort if she agrees. Serena apologizes and says she refuses. Leveling up is not in her plans yet, and ruins do not interest her at all, unlike Noah. The girl asks in surprise why she is defending a boy from the E rank. She thinks that he is Serena's boy, which is why she is so supportive. Serena denies this assumption. She says with admiration that Noah is incredible despite his rank, and vouches for him with her A rank. The heroine asks the boy how his wounds and magical power are. He has already fully recovered. They go out into the yard. Serena challenges Noah to a fight. She explains there is simply no better way to prove his strength faster. The young man hesitates. The girl looks skeptically. She considers it absurd because there is a huge gap in strength between them. Everyone is stunned. No one knows who would even dare to fight this lady. And Serena encourages the hero not to hesitate in hopes that Noah will not fight at full strength. The young man decided to reduce his firepower to sparring level but understood perfectly well. Ancient magic, if it hits, can seriously injure a person. Serena flies into the air and calls out to Noah, "Try to hit me first." The girl strikes him with all her might. The heroine tells him not to be afraid. She hit him with a flat palm, although she assumes it must be very painful. The girl encourages him, continue the fight. This time the young man reacts first. Serena enthusiastically praises him for his brilliant reflexes, and adds that she envies his ability to hover in the air. The boy announces that it's his turn to attack. The girl agrees and he extends his hand forward. Serena knows that this is a special spell of Noah's called Absolute Flame, and it's better not to get caught in it because it's not so easy to get away afterward. The hero rushes into the attack, enveloping himself in blazing flames. The girl rushes toward him, confused. The flame does not fly at her, it is frozen around him. The heroine watches as Noah disappears behind a curtain of fire and makes a guess. She wonders if he disappeared but quickly calms herself. The hero will definitely take the opportunity and appear behind her. Serena was sure the young man would approach her from behind, appearing through a spatial transition. The girl attacks, but to her surprise Noah reads her move and uses the transition again. The young man admits that Serena is not so easy to defeat, and she says that she lost without any chance. The girl shouts that she cannot believe her eyes. An E rank defeated an A rank. Hearing the crowd's applause, the heroes remember that they are being watched. The girl apologizes for her previous rudeness and tells Noah that she will gladly take him as an assistant in exploring ancient ruins. The young man really wants this and accepts her offer, and Serena sincerely rejoices for him. She believes that it is still too early to say goodbye, and the hero agrees with her. The girl says that it was a short but extremely valuable experience, as if she found herself in a fairy tale. And Noah replies that he knew almost nothing about the life of adventurers and learned a lot. Serena says that she would not be surprised if next time they meet, the boy is already S-rank or even a hero of the Kingdom of Razde. She asks Fafnir to take care of himself, and he responds in kind. Noah sincerely thanks his friends for their help and shakes Serena's hand. The girl tells the hero that there is a magical transport outside the city, on which they will set off to the ruins, and the young man agrees. Noah waved goodbye to everyone, thanked them warmly once again for their hospitality, and sincerely wished them luck. The heroes say goodbye. The young man and the girl head towards the forest. Mr. Carl, holding his daughter in his arms, looks sadly at the separation from Noah, and Serena sincerely wishes him success. An active volcano is visible above the treetops, and a column of smoke rises above the forest, stretching into the sky. Finally, the girl introduces herself to Noah. Her name is Yun. She is an archaeologist and engineer of magical devices in Ludolf, the capital of the kingdom. The boy in response introduces himself and Fafnir. Yun says that it is rare to see a small talking dragon, and his frightening name really impressed her. Noah laughs, and finally they reach the transport the girl was talking about. The boy asks if this is the magical transport Yun mentioned, adding that he sees such a thing for the first time. The girl says that it is a motorcycle, her pride and joy. She asks if the boy is ready to set off. Gases burst from the exhaust pipe. Noah thinks that a jump to another dimension would take them there in a second, but he always dreamed of traveling the world. The motorcycle bursts forward and the heroes set off on the road. They race past tall mountains and clouds slowly drift across the sky, and in the evening Yun and Noah stop for the night and light a fire. The next day they finally reach the place. The young man was captivated by the grandeur of the ruins. Yun suggests starting the exploration immediately. The heroes enter the building and head straight into the unknown darkness of the corridor. They reach the ancient ruins east of Ludolf. Yun, with a burning torch in hand, leads their small procession and announces that as the group leader she will first teach Noah archaeology, and the young man agrees. She tells him that the valuable treasure in the ruins is protected by many traps, so he needs to be careful. Suddenly something attacks them, and Noaa reacts instantly, creating a magical barrier that protects them. The hero tells the girl that she was right, there really are traps here. Yun replies that she deliberately activated the trap to test him. Suddenly magical bonds appear from nowhere and wrap around the girl's arms and legs. She does not understand what it is or what is happening. Noah helps her and frees her from the bonds. Connections break and scatter in different directions, and Yun with a scream flies straight into the arms of a young man. The hero thinks that this resembles some ancient weaving tool, and the girl is convinced this must save her. She frowns, angry that she has been caught twice already. Now Yun is determined to take on anything. The girl jumped on Noah's back and tightly grabbed his shoulders, leading him forward. The hero says it's a bit hard to walk like that. The girl assures that she won't leave him anymore, and Fafnir decides to go first. The heroes walk down the corridor, their familiar flies ahead, and they approach an empty room. Noah calms him down. Everything is fine, there are no hidden traps in this room. Yun clings to him tightly because she trusts this guy. The hero says he is interested in the symbols on the wall. The girl asks if he can read them by decoding, and Noah says he can and leans in to carefully examine the inscription. He deciphers the note: someone's daughter is already grown up but eats without manners, and the father worries about her future because of this. Yun asks what to do about it. Noah says it's an ancient diary. He continues to examine the symbols. It's a runic calendar, which the heroes hear about for the first time. According to the civilization calendar, this is the 779th year, meaning more than 779 years have passed. Yun suggests that apparently an ancient people once lived here. Noah ponders. He reads about the harsh reality and that someone will have to go and defeat the turtle of dreams at any cost. And Noah wonders what kind of turtle is that. Yun insists let's set out to search for the great treasure in the ancient ruins. The hero agrees and they move forward. Reaching the end of the corridor, they came upon a dead end. The familiar Fafnir says they have already circled and explored everything in these ruins, and the girl stands upset they went so far and found nothing. Yun climbs down from Noah's back and tells him that most ruin explorations end in nothing, so they decide to at least read the ancient records. The hero looked at the wall and suddenly noticed there was something else written on it. The inscription on the wall requires obtaining some book. Yun cannot understand which one exactly, but still pulls a book out of her belongings. Noah asks what kind of book it is, and the girl replies that it is her secret notebook. It contains everything, from research notes to girlish trifles. Yun notices that nothing happens. The hero asks for a minute to think. He needs to consider everything properly. He believes it is about the Book of Peace. After that incident, he tried repeatedly, but it never appeared. The young man hopes it will appear right here, and he intently imagines the pages of the book. The book appears in the air, and Noah rejoices he finally succeeded. He peers at the symbols. straining to decipher what is written here about that ancient ruin, and finds information about the number of traps and where they are hidden, how to disable them, and a map of the ruins themselves. Noah reads in the book that behind the wall there are stairs leading down. Using a magical spell, the young man removes the wall and puts a door in its place. The girl is impressed by his skill, and together they watch as a passage forms in the stone wall. Noah shouts that now they can move on, and Yun behind him does not hold back a joyful scream. She asks him to stop for a second and explain how he did it. The hero replies that it is hard to convey in words and calls the girl to continue her exploration. Yun notices a burning flame. Noah explains that it is a torch ancient magic. Yun touches the surface of the walls, impressed that their structure is completely different from the ruins above. The civilization built by the ancients is considered much better than the modern one. Yun cannot believe her eyes, although she knows it is true. She exclaims with delight that they have made the discovery of the century. Noah thinks that it is simply incredible. The dragon Fafnir looks ahead in surprise. Yun asks what he sees and what else they might find, and the heroes are momentarily speechless. Right in front of them, an unfamiliar girl hovered in the air above a scatter of crystals. Eyes closed, hands at her sides, and her cloak and long hair gently fluttering in the air. Yun was the first to come to her senses and asked her friends if what is before them is a doll. Noah appeared right in front of the face of the girl who was floating in the air. The young man was sure that a person stood before them, but felt a hint of magic. The hero is stunned. He did not think this was even possible. Noah approached the crystals and touched the magical mechanism. According to him, it allows stopping time. Suddenly, everything was flooded with bright light, and the heroes were told that access was granted. The mechanism rumbled and roared, but Yun does not understand what is happening and why the device turned on. The girl shows signs of life and heads straight towards them. Unexpectedly for Noah, some strange girl fell right on him and knocked him down. He gets up himself and picks her up, looking into her face. The young man notices that the girl is coming to her senses and breathes out with relief. The hero asks if she is okay. The girl replies in some unfamiliar language. He does not understand a word. Noah suddenly realizes that she is speaking another language and cannot help but curse. Suddenly, the stranger attacks. Her foot is just millimeters from the boy's face. She lands and immediately prepares to attack again. The girl bends down to the ground and crawls towards Noah. He listens to her words again and wonders who she is. The stranger bends unnaturally and presses her hands and feet to the ground, continuing to make some incomprehensible sounds. The hero suddenly hears singing. He decides that things are going badly and asks Fafnir to protect Lady Yun. Noah and the girl simultaneously rushed at each other. They uttered a spell and absolute fire flared up between them. Heroes stand opposite each other and direct magic before them. Noah is stunned. He cannot comprehend that in the modern world there are still those who can use absolute fire. Due to the suddenness of the situation, the hero does not hold back and throws the girl away, miscalculating his own strength, and notices that she speaks an ancient language and now also uses absolute flame. Noah suspects that she is one of the surviving ancients, and he simply sees no other explanation for how she knows that ancient language. The young man slowly approaches the girl, lying on the ground to assure her that he is not an enemy. Suddenly she jumps up and wraps her legs around his neck. Noah realizes that in this state he will not be able to utter a single word. Fortunately, the hero's familiar rushed to help unleash all his power on the stranger and tore the young man from strangulation. The hero approaches Fafnir, who has grown many times larger, and sincerely thanks him for the help. Yun looks admiringly at the giant size of the familiar dragon and asks if he is the real Fafnir. The stranger is angry, and Noah tries to explain to her that they do not intend to harm her. The girl does not understand him. She guesses that she hears the language of runes, and before her appears the boundless burning power of absolute flame. The stranger asks Noah if he belongs to the tribe of runes. Noah apologizes and says no, he does not belong to it. The hero asks Lady Yun for just a minute to try to explain everything to the girl. She understands him. The stranger asks if she understood correctly. She was sealed for a long time in a device that stops time. Noah adds that thanks to his gift of decoding, he speaks to her in one language. The girl recalls how in the middle of the war between humans and demons, her father forced her to come here. The hero asks again about the war with the demons. He only heard that long ago humans and demons waged a prolonged war. The stranger asks how long she was sealed. Noah answers that there were so many that it is hard to believe because the language and magic she uses are now called ancient, and the girl froze in amazement. She asks the young man to take her to the heavenly tower, and her request surprises him. The stranger explains that the watchtower is very close and built with runes, so that not even the flow of time can destroy it. She must see the world with her own eyes. Noah asks Lady Yun for permission to take the girl to the heavenly tower, and she only smiles, saying that they already passed by it on the way here, so she does not mind. The watchtower rises upward, its top touching the sky. To the girl's surprise, Noah uses a spatial transition, and the heroes find themselves inside the tower. The stranger gazed into the distance and quietly said that from here you can see the entire kingdom of runes. Kirkshisha. From the top of the watchtower, the girl gazes into the kingdom stretching all the way to the very horizon. The heroes step into Ludolf, the capital of the kingdom, and freeze near its fortress wall. Noah thinks that the royal capital is something extraordinary. He is carrying Yuna on his back again, and the familiar walks behind. The stranger snorted with contempt and denied that Kirkshisha was much more amazing. The young man quietly laughed. They enter the city and find themselves on a narrow, cramped street, completely filled with people. The girl is covered in drops of sweat. She angrily addresses Noah. There are simply too many people and shops here. The girl complains that she feels uneasy in Kirkshish. Everything was completely different. She presses tightly against the young man as if seeking protection, and suddenly they are called. The girl was examined from all sides, whispering, "What a beauty! A doll." They had never seen such clothing before and decided that the stranger was a foreign princess. Lady Yun notices that the girl's origin immediately surfaced, and Noah adds that her clothing is too different from what is usual in the capital. He extends to her his long cloak with a hood and says that she will have to wear it for some time. Alexia thanks him. She feels much more comfortable in the mantle and suggests that perhaps it is because of the runes carved on it. Finally, they reach Lady Yun's estate. The girl shines with joy, finally home. The maid greets her and sincerely rejoices that the mistress has returned. The girl asks how the exam went this time. Yun replies that it was not bad. She introduces the maid to her companions and says that she will stay with them for some time. Yun warns her that the girl is a foreigner, so she should be treated gently, and the maid understood this. She asks the girl for permission to take off her clothes, but the girl does not understand her, so Noah explains to Alexia that she needs to take off the robe. She says she is hungry. Yun laughs, says that now she understands what she herself said. She decides that they will eat first. The heroes step over the threshold of the dining room. A large set table spreads out before them. The maid asks Noah if he has any special requests, and he briefly answers, no. Sitting at the table, the hero asks Alexia if she has any preferences regarding food. She replies no. The maid says that is good and asks them to wait a little. The young man sadly thought how long ago was the time when the servants still treated him well. They are brought dishes that look incredibly appetizing. Lady Yun announces that this is the signature dish of their chef and wishes the guests a good meal. The maid brings a basket of apples for Fanfear, and he looks at it with love and gratitude. Noah tells Alexia that they can start eating. Armed with a fork, she is determined to try what lies on the plate. The girl fiercely stabs the fork into a piece of meat. Noah and Ewan do not take their eyes off Alexia. She dials the number and bites off a piece of food. Tearing off a piece of meat, she begins to chew it, enjoying every flavor. Watching Alexia, Ewan concludes that in some moments she even eats primitively. Suddenly the girl froze, raising her eyes from the food. She remembers manners and apologizes to everyone at the table, and Noah gently reassures her there is no need to worry. If the food is so delicious, why hold back? Alexia confessed that her father often got angry with her. The young man agreed real families are indeed strict about such things. He added that if the girl wants, he can teach her. Alexia agrees, and Noah assures her that it is simple. He gently adjusts her hand, shows how to hold the utensils, and encourages her. She cuts off a small piece and puts it in her mouth. The heroine says she feels great. Alexia says it tastes even better that way. Noah smiles and asks the maid to bring a loaf of bread. He shows that it can be cut and filled with meat and vegetables inside. The boy shows the finished dish he just prepared. The sandwich looks very appetizing. He says it's much easier to eat everything together, and Alexia agrees to try. Yun can't resist. The sandwich looks incredibly tasty, and seeing how Alexia eats with such appetite, he decides to make one for himself. The girl says she needs to wash now. Noah thanks her and tells Alexia that she can go wash. Lady Yun calls the girl to follow her. She takes her by the hand and they walk down the corridor. The young man, as he leaves, wishes them luck. Fafnir senses his unease and asks why the hero isn't going with them, but Noah just laughs in response. In the bathroom, the girls undress and put their clothes in baskets. Then they approach a huge bathtub. Alexia speaks in an ancient language, and without Noah's help, Yun doesn't understand anything at all. Even Alexia doesn't understand what the girl is saying. Yun calls her an old woman and asks her not to get too carried away. Without glasses, the girl sees unclearly and something frightening flashes in Alexia's gaze, while Alexia thinks she is just taking a bath and doesn't need to be spoken to. Lady Yun points to a bottle of shampoo and says something again. The girl assumes she is asking her to start washing. Alexia, watching how Yun washes her hair, recalls that in Kirchishi there was instant magic of cleansing runes. The girl stares and does not understand. Why Lady Yun is all covered in fluffy foam and what those bubbles around are, she decides that it is some kind of modern witchcraft and also feels a pleasant smell. Yun points to the shampoo again, squeezes some onto her palm and shows Alexia how to lather the body. And the girl understands that it is a washing agent made from recycled plants. Evan looks admiringly at Alexia's smooth skin and calls her the princess of an ancient kingdom. She laughs and the girl again does not understand her after all. Noah translated everything for her. Alexia considers Yen a conceited woman and reminds her that she is the princess of an ancient kingdom. Yun thinks that she is not the kind of girl who would hold back from such words, but something in her emotionless face worries her. Alexia thinks that there is no need to talk in the bath. The girls sit in the bath, surrounded by foam. Yun thinks about how tired she is because not understanding another language is very inconvenient. Alexia and Yun simultaneously blurt out some indistinct phrase and look at each other. They sat silently in the bath for a while longer. Finally, they get out of the water. Wrapped in towels, they look into the mirror. Putting on glasses, Yun shows Alexia a hairdryer, calling it a magical thing for drying hair. She turns it on, and Alexia feels the warm air blowing from the hairdryer and holds her hands under it. Alexia is stunned. She would never have thought that flying things could be used like that, and June thinks that this ancient civilization is frightening. Meanwhile, evening quietly falls, and when the girls come out of the bath, Noah asks how the bathing went. Yun and Alexia in long nightgowns with ruffles smile and say it was tense, but they managed. The young man is happy to hear this. Noah feels as if the girls have truly become closer to each other. He tells Alexia that without communication skills, she will be very uncomfortable. The hero advises her to learn modern languages, and the girl sincerely promises to try. Yun asks if she will be able to learn to understand the ancient language, and the young man firmly says that with her erudition, she will definitely succeed. He believes that people from different eras can understand each other, and Fafnir agrees with him. The girls unanimously ask Noah to bathe with them next time, and he, laughing, refuses. The boy returns to his father and says that thanks to his talent for deciphering, he can read such a complex book. With shining eyes, the child explains that this also allows him to understand many languages, so the skill of deciphering is clearly underestimated. The father asks, and what use is that? He swings at the boy, and the boy, with fear in his eyes, realizes that he will hit him again. The child begs not to be beaten and promises to be obedient and do everything his father says. Noah suddenly wakes up in the middle of the night from a nightmare, not understanding why today he suddenly dreamed of childhood. Fafnir is peacefully sleeping on his pillow. A new day has dawned, and everything in the estate goes as usual. Noah and Alexia sit next to each other at the table. The girl says in modern language that she will eat bread and a white apple, pointing to the food lying before her on the table. Alexia carefully bites off a piece of bread. The young man praises her for understanding modern language much better. The girl says it is because Noah is a good teacher. Noah laughs and says it is all thanks to Alexia's efforts. She asks the young man to stroke her head. He did not expect such a request but decides that the girl deserves it and gently strokes her. Noah praises Alexia, saying she is a good girl and she is happy. She promises him, "I will try." The hero wonders if her father stroked her the same way. For a moment, Noah again sees that look in his father's eyes from the nightmare. Alexia, noticing the change in his mood, asks if everything is okay and he assures her that it is. Noah calms her down, says everything is fine and there is no need to worry, and he decides to go to the guild to officially register Alexia as an adventurer. The girl asks him what an adventurer is. Noah explains that it is a jack-of-all-trades who does anything, whether gathering or fighting. He assures her that she will be able to learn a lot about the modern world and, most importantly, start earning money. Alexia says she is not against being with Noah at all, and the young man asks Yun about her plans. She is fully immersed in creating a new magical instrument. Fafnir says that her concentration during work is simply incredible and explains that the girl is now trying to redirect the power of runes. They decided not to distract Lady Yun from her affairs, so they went to the guild without her. The heroes step into the Adventurers Guild in Ludolf the Fell. Alexia registered and received a certificate stating that she is a rank D sorceress. It seemed very simple to her, but she felt that she spoke quite foolishly. Noah says that Lady Yun had written a recommendation letter in advance and Alexia was immediately assigned rank D. The girl is delighted with Yun and considers her a wonderful person, and the hero was also promoted to D. Fafnir believes Noah's skills are worthy of rank S. The young man reminds him that rank can only be increased by one attribute at a time. He decides that it is time to return home. Alexia's stomach growls. She tells Noah that she is hungry. He suggests going to the market. She liked the idea and rushed ahead of the boy. Alexia says that after dinner she and Noah will take a bath together. Noah refuses, saying he will never set foot there. Then Fafnir offers himself to the girl. The hero says he just started guessing the gender of his familiar. Nola makes another attempt and simply loses the power of speech. Suddenly, a tall man in a long black cloak appeared before them and blocked the way. His silhouette was reflected in Noah's pupils. The young man suddenly recognizes him as his father, the one he never expected to meet here. The hero asks him, "Why are you in the capital of the kingdom?" Alexia looked closely at the man's face and realized, before her was Noah's father. He says that all explanations will come later and they urgently return to the estate. Noah reminds his father that it was he who drove him out of there, and the father sharply commands, "Shut up and listen." The man firmly grabs the boy's hand. Fafnir is ready to rush to defend his friend. Noah tells his father that he will not return. He says that now he has his own affairs. The father lets go of his hand and everything becomes clear to him. He decisively says that in that case he will take it back by force, and a magical fireball appears in his hands. Noah covers Alexia and Fafnir with his body, warns them of danger, and introduces them to his father. According to the young man, the man surrounded by spheres of fire is the most powerful fire mage. The father simultaneously releases all the fireballs at his son, but the son intercepts them all and the father is stunned. Noah creates a magical barrier in front of him and all the balls hit it. He calls it ancient magic. His father freezes in amazement. Seeing the purple fire, he is sure that Princess Claudia was telling the truth. The man asks his son if he found the ancient grimoire and Noah answers, yes. The man suspects that, thanks to the deciphering, Noah mastered ancient magic from the grimoires. He orders him to return to the estate and become the next head of the family, but the young man categorically refuses. Noah refuses because his father sees only talent in him, and that man does not understand what he means. He does not understand what is wrong. Aldheim's is a prestigious family of wizards, and talent is above all for them. The young man remains silent in response to his father's words, and Fafnir ominously settles on his shoulder. The man says he did not want to cause a riot in the kingdom's capital, but in this situation, he will have to do it anyway. He unleashes a storm of magic on his son again. Turning around, Noah notices Alexia. Her hands are outstretched. He asks her what is wrong. The girl fears that the man will hurt Noah, and begs the young man not to hold back and not to care that he is his father. The man looks threateningly at Alexia and calls her a disgusting little girl. Suddenly the ground began to tremble beneath their feet, and without taking his eyes off his father, Noah shouted loudly, "Earthquake." Everything subsides as quickly as it begins. Frightened residents run out of their doors and ask each other if everything is okay. They wonder why everything was shaking so much. The man threatens Noah that he will definitely bring him back, and warns his son not to try to escape from him. It won't work anyway. Watching his father walk away, the young man quietly calls him. Then he turns to Alexia, thanks her, and apologizes for his father. The girl seems not to hear him. She is so deep in her thoughts. Fafnir asks him if he felt the same as Fafnir himself, and Noah answers affirmatively, while in the distance a source of enormous magical power appears. A huge monster with giant spikes on its shell has appeared in the kingdom. The girl quietly tells Noah that it is the turtle from the dreams. Alexia is stunned. She cannot believe that she still exists in this modern world. Suddenly, a monster of incredible size appeared in the east of the royal capital, and it is already coming here. In the ancient ruins, records were found in them. It was called the Dreaming Turtle. Lady Yun appears before the royal family in the royal palace and tells them about the monster. The princess is horrified, and the king promises to pacify the dream turtle with the full power of the Razde kingdom. He decisively orders the Night Order to urgently form a squad of mages and immediately summon all adventurers of rank D and above. The king orders to inform other adventurer guilds that the threat is nearby. Mr. Karl and Serena learned that His Majesty wants as many adventurers as possible to be brought to the royal capital Ludofa. Yun tells Alexia and Noah that she can hardly believe it. Almost everyone has been alerted. The girl rejoiced. The heroes immediately sensed the presence of the dream turtle at its speed. It will reach the capital in 3 days, so in 2 days they will start to pacify it. Yun says she will be in the castle working on the strategy, relying on information from Alexia, and meanwhile they can use the estate as they wish. Alexia asks her not to exhaust herself and to rest. The girl waves goodbye to them and leaves. The maid sadly tells Noah and Alexia, "I'm sorry, but you have also been ordered to evacuate." The girl notices how the city has become quiet. Only soldiers and adventurers who will take part in the cleanup remain in the capital now. Noah suggests resting a bit. He believes it is better for them to conserve their strength before the decisive battle. The girl agrees with him. They say goodbye near the bedroom door. The young man wishes her good night, but Alexia stops him, calling him by name. She asks if she can sleep with him tonight. The 3 of them settled on the bed: Noah, Fafnir, and Alexia. The girl looks into his eyes and asks for his forgiveness. She explains that after the appearance of the dream turtle, memories of the past constantly haunt her. She is so frightened that she cannot fall asleep. Noah understands her. He looks at the familiar who is sleeping soundly. Alexia asks the young man if he has a bad relationship with his father, and Noah says yes, and wants to explain everything to her. He admits that he comes from the Aldheim family, a respected magical family, that disowned him because of his useless talent. The girl thinks it would be wonderful if they could understand each other. Noah says it is more complicated than it seems. Alexia begs him to promise her that he will not die. She says that she knows well how strong he is, but the Turtle of Dreams is an unusual enemy, and even in Kirkshish he had no equal. Noah promises her that he will not die. He will defeat the Turtle of Dreams. The girl nestled against his chest. He gently strokes her head. Alexia falls asleep, and he thinks about how to fall asleep himself now. The young man understands that he must pull himself together because the Turtle of Dreams is probably the strongest of his opponents. He wonders if his father will take part in the pacification as an ally, and if so, it encourages him. Finally, all three fall asleep, and the bedroom sinks into silence. Morning has finally come at the Fafnir estate. Alexia and Noah are awakened. The young man asks him what happened. He fears that the movement of the Turtle of Dreams has changed. The dragon says it is already past noon and asks how much longer he plans to sleep. Noah shouted he did not expect it to be so late. Suddenly he remembers that today they need to be at the garrison. The young man tells Alexia to wake up and change clothes. The girl sleepily rubs her eyes. She begins to change, and Noah with his familiar is already leaving the room. The hero asks if she was not worried at all, since she slept so soundly the night before the decisive battle. The girl sharply replies that he himself snores like a pig. Fafnir says that the main thing is they made it in time. Meanwhile, in the east, Ludolf has a garrison stationed to calm the phantom turtle. Alexia cannot believe her eyes, so many people here. Noah says that people from the surrounding towns are also coming. Some of those present look extremely strange, and acquaintance suggests that these are most likely S-rank adventurers. There are only 12 of them in the kingdom of Razdi. Fafnir has a question for Noah. The familiar says, in this battle, it is uncomfortable for him to fight in the form of a small dragon, and before such a crowd, he cannot take his true form. He disappears into the tent, and suddenly surprises his friends with an unusual shadow. The heroes freeze. Fafnir has transformed into a human and a woman at that, while the familiar laughs, saying that in this form he can easily let loose, and adds that the concept of gender does not exist for him at all. All adventurers were given a strategy manual in case of an emergency quest. Noah thinks he should review it. Alexia asks, what is written there? Fafnir replies that he has no idea, and the young man says that the forces involved are divided into three main groups. The first strike group consists of knights of the Razdi army and a squad of mages. The hero says that the second strike group follows them. It includes themselves, adventurers of the capital Ludolf, and those who arrived from surrounding towns. The last line of defense is the court mages and S-rank adventurers. Alexia asks why they cannot attack immediately, and Noah replies that it is better to entrust the army's command. The hero says that his father's name is among the commanders of the last squad, and he thinks with relief that he is lucky they are in different groups, so the chance of meeting him during the mission is small. An OAA also adds that various mechanisms will stand in the way of this dream turtle. Fafnir thoughtfully wonders what they managed to prepare in such a short time, but how much longer can others withstand this monster? Alexia admits that she never imagined she would have to fight him again on this very land, and asks her father and the people of Kirkshis to take care of them. The girl swears that this time she will definitely defeat the dream turtle. Noah suggests for now to put things in order. Tonight they will spend the night in a tent. The princess warmly thanks Noah's father for participating in this mission, and asks for forgiveness for that day. Mr. Hildegund believes that at such a young age it will be difficult for Princess Claudia to take His Majesty's place, and she fears for her father and does not want anything bad to happen to him. The man is sure that Noah is also involved in that extraordinary mission, and having proven himself, will definitely attract Claudia's attention. He said to the princess with fiery determination that he wants to fight in the front lines, and she only smiled and replied that Mr. Hildegand is extremely brave, but with his skills he deserves not a rank and file but a commander. The next day, battle time. The knights stand ready for battle, tightening their ranks. The Razdi knights gathered on the field. A cannon volley thundered. This is the signal. The emergency mission begins, the battle with the dream turtle. The battle has begun. The phantom turtle is already on the battlefield. Refugees are coming to a temporary shelter on the outskirts of the kingdom's capital. A child asks her mother if that bad monster wants to destroy their home, and she calmly says, "Don't be afraid, the strong Raz soldiers will defeat it." The mother reassures her daughter, promising her that everything will be fine. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, the cannons were aimed at the maximum angle, and shells one after another rained down on the monster. The commander is reported that nothing is working and the turtle's sleep does not stop. He decisively orders the soldiers to calm down and continue shooting, while he himself wonders what kind of defense it has. The monster is getting closer and closer, and the soldiers clutch shells in their hands ready. The phantom turtle attacks. The commander orders a retreat. The giant monster forced the army to flee in horror, destroying everything in its path. They were urgently informed. The turtle has almost reached the second line of defense. Prepare for battle. The heroes are ready for battle and are glad to finally fight back against the monster. The phantom turtle is approaching any moment now. They report that there are almost no shells left. The defensive barrier is damaged and order was given to regroup. The soldiers believe that everything is in vain and that they will not be able to hold the front line, and thoughts of the approaching end are ready to throw them into despair. They turn again to the commander and he only clenches his teeth. The man loudly orders everyone to attack, and the soldiers instantly obey his command. They rush at the monster, defending the country, comrades, loved ones, and everything dear to them even at the cost of their own lives. A phantom turtle, so gigantic that against its background the soldiers look like tiny grains of sand. Alexia sincerely thanks the brave warriors of this era for their courage and pride. She rises into the air and promises the astonished soldiers that they will not perish in this battle. The girl envelops the army with a magical barrier, like a protective dome. She attacks the monster and shouts to the soldiers, "Retreat quickly." Alexia warns this giant is already very close. The phantom turtle is already here, and the girl orders everyone to run immediately. The soldiers are silent, confused. Noah does not take his eyes off Alexia. The hero returned to the Turtle of Dreams. He says that because of her, all the inhabitants of Kertshish and Alexi's father died. The young man summons a magical tornado and rushes to attack the monster. The soldiers are stunned and do not understand where this tornado came from, while Alexia and Fafnir look at Noah. The hero shouts that because of the turtle, Alexia was left completely alone. The young man calls upon the storm blade. He again rushes to attack the phantom turtle. Noah sends blow after blow into the monster. Alexia cannot believe that after such an attack she really has not a single scratch after all. She was defending herself, hiding in her shell. The girls, stunned, watch as the turtle continues to withstand blow after blow. Noah suggests that the dream turtle's shell can absorb magic and shoot it back. Alexia warns the young man, "You can protect yourself against the monster's fire, but it itself is a tough opponent." The hero no longer sees the point in continuing everything, he thinks, happens exactly the same as with that mithril golem. Noah understands that only changing the dream turtle with the help of the Book of Peace remains. He asks Alexia and Fafnir to distract the dream turtle, a little he has a plan to defeat it. The hero tells them in a simple voice, the problem is that he won't be able to move for some time. They ask Noah to trust them. The young man sincerely thanks them. He begins to implement his plan. Alexia and Fafnir exchange glances. The girl anxiously asks Noah about that magical attack from behind. The hero replies that he is fine. The boy asks both to occupy the dream turtle. Noah feels a familiar figure behind him and does not understand why it appears at such an inopportune moment. The father decisively says, this young man must disappear here and now. The hero immediately notices that the opponent is in a mantle soaked with protective magic. He says in surprise that it is an old thing, although outdated compared to modern magic. The boy decisively orders to activate the third level of flame, the fire whip, to protect against the attacking hero, and commands the flame to turn into a whip and restrain the enemy. The boy shouts to his father to stop. Now is not the time to attack, but his words fall on deaf ears. The father says he doesn't care about the dream turtle or what will happen to the kingdom's capital. The man says he has no time for them now, and the hero intensifies the attack with absolute flame, to which the enemy responds by using ice technique and raising an ice wall. Noah sharply releases a magical shot, blocking the enemy's attack absolute flame that goes beyond attribute compatibility, and he shouts about this flame and enhances his technique to the 6th level of flame. The enemy counterattacks with a powerful spell, Lava Meteor, trying to deliver a devastating blow. The wizard froze in amazement. The hero's power is stunning. He never expected such a worthless talent to match his might, and believes that this power will not reach the Uldheim family. He worries that if it becomes known that the boy was expelled, it will ruin their reputation, and perhaps he will even be stripped of his title, and he is ready to pay any price. He realized, if he refuses to return home, he will have to stop this unless he decides to erase the very existence of his son, Noah Uldheim. The son addresses the enemy and, saying father with bitter mixed feelings, firmly declares, "I will not return home and will not allow anyone to deal with me." The hero insists. The decision is already made. He intends to defeat the dream turtle. The boy sincerely admits that he does not want to fight the enemy, but the situation forces him to act. The boy explains that this situation left him no choice, and it only strengthened his determination. Dad noticed the serious look of the hero and called his son by name in surprise. The enemy exploded with indignation, accusing the hero of impudence for daring to call him father. The son barely utters that it is already too late to pretend to be a father. His voice trembles. Inner struggle and emotional tension rage within him. The father exclaimed in shock that he disappeared, adding that it is the magic of teleportation. The man with black hair and a mustache sharply cut in, "I won't let the hero escape, you brat." Noah firmly says that he does not intend to run or hide, showing determination and readiness to continue the confrontation. The boy got angry and sharply demands that the hero stop picking on him, warning grimly about the consequences if he does not let go. The father shockingly reminds that he is his biological father and cannot believe that the son really intends to deal with him. The main hero sighs heavily and says goodbye to his father, showing his pain and determination. The girl asks another how she feels, and she confidently replies that everything is fine. They pronounce the name Noah in a special way. The boy apologizes to the other characters for being late. Noah resolutely decided that now they were ready to challenge the Turtle of Dreams. The girl asks about his father. He answers that he no longer has a father. The heroine exclaims in surprise, "I am attacking." The hero suggests, "You two distract the enemy for a short time, and meanwhile I will find the perfect defense and show how to handle it." They agree to help, and every step they take shows that they are ready to see the matter through to the end. The sorcerer stubbornly strives to get as close as possible to the Turtle of Dreams to achieve his goal, and others immediately offer help and join him. Someone asked himself, can he handle that monster alone? Another person replied that such people usually use monsters for their own purposes. The heroes prepare for battle, and one of them says that it is time to start fighting the Turtle of Dreams. Noah sincerely admits that he should have completed the task himself, but now understands the importance of teamwork. Others support him and declare that they are ready to defend him. The guy finally realizes how serious everything is, and decisively begins to implement the plan to change the situation. They report that this is the headquarters. Here they are calming the sleepy turtle. The girl anxiously asks what is happening at the front. Someone shouts that the second line of defense is being broken through now. They say that a few incredibly strong adventurers slowed down the advance of Gray the Turtle. The girl in glasses is confident that those unusual adventurers are Noah and his team, and asks to support them with the entire army. The hero resolutely swears, "I will not allow the enemy to break through the last line of defense." The leader shouted that it is necessary to gather the adventurers who came as reinforcements, and the S-level adventurers should take combat positions. They also mentioned using magical devices to strengthen the defense. The hero studies the text with strange symbols and assumes that these symbols might be encrypted. He believes this is the perfect protection and that the current case is different from the situation with the Guardian Golem. The boy decides to try to read the text using his talent for decoding codes and claims that he now understands its meaning. The boy thinks that if he rewrites part of the text about the turtle shell from the dream, Noah begins to doubt whether he made a mistake by changing the text. The main hero suddenly realizes that he must change all the symbols to understand the protections of the Turtle of Dreams. He says that he spent hours sitting in the library studying ancient codes. The hero said that he is ready to tirelessly decode ancient grimoires. The sorcerer is confident for him this is a trifle, he will decode everything. The girl snorted irritably and said that the hero is the real problem because of his persistence. The soldier insists that they need to strike the enemy's unprotected areas, concentrating all blows on one point. The heroine says she doesn't know who she is, but now they hope the girl with horns must focus all magical support on her, because magic doesn't work on the Turtle of Dreams anyway, so she asks not to spare any strength. She thinks that the people she previously fought against have come to her aid. The monster reacted angrily to being underestimated and admitted he had been too soft. He constantly repeats that it is because of the time he spent in prison. People understand. At such a moment, one cannot hesitate because of appearance. The monster asks Noah to forgive him. The enemy announces that he has returned to his evil form again. The soldier, stunned and shocked, shouts, "This cannot be," and recalls the distorted disaster dragon Fenrir. Someone warns the opponent, "Don't be too confident, I know what you are capable of." Two warriors anxiously discuss the situation and say that now is not the time for talk. They are amazed at how the girl showed incredible abilities and even compare her to the legendary creature Fafnir Sublige. They say that despite the difficulties, he will cover while Fafnir confronts the Turtle of Dreams even if it requires incredible effort. The girl reflects on what is happening, notices the magical power he is using. Noah is now trying to rewrite something, and asks Fafnir to forgive her for having to endure this. Before their eyes appears a book titled The Book of Peace. It is said to be the highest power created by the King of Runes, capable of changing even the laws of this world. They say that the Book of the Rune Heritage ended up in the hands of a person who did not belong to their people. The enemy disappointedly notes that he thought he had gotten rid of all the Rune people after the last war, and the girl is convinced that this time it is also his doing. The heroine shouts to the enemies, "Do not touch Noah." The monster demands that they step back. It will not allow them to use the power of the people's Book of Runes again, and he decisively says that he will deal with Noah right here. The girl firmly declares that she will protect the boy. She can no longer endure the loss of dear people. The monster snorts that the Rune people never learn anything and does not understand why it takes them so long to oppose him, and adds that they should join their allies. The enemy warns that no one should face his power, that darkness, as he calls it. The heroine, worried about the young man, asks him to hurry. The hero fiercely studies the books, flipping through the pages hoping to find even a drop of information or a solution to this situation. They say that the old man with a beard, a sharp hat, and a staff is the legendary Archmage Lawrence himself, and the one in black is a professional who deals professionally with dragons. His name is Siegfried. They say that the estranged Misei is with the king of beasts Fenrir. The girl says that as an elf she does not care what is happening in the royal capital. The wolf turns to her and asks her not to say such things so loudly. She proudly introduces herself as an S-rank adventurer from Hakvilla, the neighboring duchy of Alito, where the Familiars Guild is located, and says that she earned the S-rank not through the party, but solely thanks to her familiar. The character with ears notices how many impressive personalities have gathered here. Another heroine also decides to show herself from the best side, and someone asks if she is the same the A-rank adventurer, Serena. The hero thinks that Noah and the others are probably already fighting on the front lines. She says that the squad is working tirelessly. The girl says it is clear, the future of the Kingdom of Raz depends on the situation. The child calls out, "Your Highness Claudia." The girl recognizes another character, exclaims in surprise and thanks Yuna for the hint. The man waved off the thanks and said that now is not the time for that. Yuna says that the Dream Turtle is about to reach the last line of defense. Thanks to the front lines they managed to buy time, and she warns Claudia about the worst-case scenario, advising her to evacuate. Serena says she will stay in place after all, the people on the front lines are fighting bravely, so she has nothing to worry about. The heroine reminds that she is a representative of the king, and that her departure could affect the course of events, because the soldiers' morale will be greatly shaken if she leaves. She confidently declares, "The Dream Turtle will definitely be defeated, we will not lose." The warrior notes that even in such a situation the princess's heart will not falter before the dragon's roar, and resolutely vows to stand by her until the very end. The girl sincerely thanks him for the support and anxiously says that she is afraid of losing contact with Mr. Hildegard, who has gone to the front. Her Highness Claudia sincerely hopes that everything is now fine with the man. The knight calls Mr. Hildegard and asks his comrade-in-arms to urgently set off in pursuit of the winged dragon. The man does not understand why he ended up here. The soldier gladly says that fortunately he is alive. He says that the gentleman was wounded during the operation to tame the Dream Turtle. The fighter says that it seems he only fainted for a moment, and his body miraculously did not suffer serious damage. The hero sincerely apologizes for the trouble caused, and the man says that Mr. Hildegard is their great gain. He feels as if he has forgotten something very important. He is stunned and overwhelmed by a strange feeling. The aristocrat notices a mantle with ancient inscriptions, is amazed, and tries to understand where he has already seen this mantle. He is sure that he has seen this mantle somewhere before, but cannot recall the details. He feels nauseous and has a headache, and it seems as if something is crawling inside him. The hero is sure that he must find out to whom this cloak belongs, because he feels this knowledge is very important to him. Someone asks the hero if he is okay, and the man replies that his head hurts a little, but he does not consider it serious. He understands that now is not the time to think about a headache, and firmly says that the Dream Turtle must be dealt with as soon as possible. And he decides to take the winged dragon. Another character anxiously points out that the hero has not yet fully recovered from the injury. Mr. Hildegard insists on his decision, and, ignoring the concerns of those around him, orders the dragon to take off. The hero notices powerful magical waves bursting from the shell of the Dream Turtle. The enemy says that the hero looks like the last representative of the Run people, and intends to deal with him. The man activates the 7th level of light, rushing into battle against the manifestation of evil. The girl anxiously asks the hero if he is okay, and with surprise says that he still has not settled his relationship with his father. The character admits they had met before in the royal capital. Noah's father asks indignantly why she came here, and decisively states that the rest should be left to him, while the heroine notices with surprise that he is no longer the man he once was. The girl feels that he has changed, no longer the man she knew. She thanks him for his help, but asks herself with apprehension whether his attitude toward his son has changed. The traveler suggests joining forces to protect the main hero. Mr. Hildegard asks if the one standing behind her is Noah. The heroine is stunned that he still asks who this boy is after all. He is his own son. The man, shocked by the news about the son, says that his head hurts again. The hero says that he no longer has a father. The girl looks at him with surprise. She notices how Noah uses a memory-erasing spell on the father, and thinks that he decided to erase all memories of himself to save him. The monster grumbles, calling what is happening a pathetic parody of itself, and the man and the girl notice that it is a spirit of darkness that survived even after a direct hit by a 7th-level spell. The heroine is sure she is the main villain, the very one who summoned the Dream Turtle. She sympathizes with the young man and says that she feels very sorry for him. The heroes decide to explain themselves and defeat the spirit together, and the father decides to lend them his power. The girl thanks him and quietly says that memories erased during the memory removal will never return. He admits that he has become lonely, just like she is now. The monster says that the number changes nothing now there are 2 of them. Mr. Hildegard asks if that boy is his son, and thinks that he has never heard anything more absurd in his life. He notices that the name seems familiar to him. The hero says that the name sounds familiar and calls him for help, asking for protection. The man summons fire magic. A shield of 7th-level flames bursts before him to protect against the attack. He sees how the main hero tries to break through the enemy's perfect defense and pours huge streams of magical power into the dream turtle. They say that in such a state, even the wizard himself is in danger without any protective magic, and one can only wonder why the people around the hero did not teach him the basics of magic. The father explains that he used the third level of flame, created a fiery phantom from it to deceive the enemy, insisting that a weaker mage cannot cope without illusions and that this is just a deception woven from fire. Mr. Hildegund angrily asks why he missed again and whether he is really a spirit of darkness, and the monster growls in response that he will regret daring to deceive him. The first says that its goodly spirit of darkness is not very clever, and the second notices that this gives them a little time. The father believes that this guy is spending too much magical power, and the girl suggests transferring this power to her character. The man says that she is already almost at the limit and admits he has no choice, he must do it. The character asks distrustfully whether that man really thinks he can break through the flawless defense of Dream Turtle. Mr. Hildegand warns her, beware of the spirit of darkness. He asks about Riene and suddenly notices that the young man looks a little like her. The traveler has a headache, and this pain is becoming increasingly stronger. The wizard thinks about this boy and about another figure. The heroine calls the man and calls him Hilda. She notices that he has fallen asleep at the table again. The woman says she understands. Grimoires simply enchant him but insists one must know when to stop. Riene advises the hero to sleep in bed so as not to get used to falling asleep at the table, and fears that the future child might adopt this habit. The man begs her for forgiveness. It is said that he met her at the Royal Academy of Mages. The boy reveals the truth. He was born into a family of magical aristocracy, the Aldeckheims, and has a gift for magic. The girl says Riene was a commoner but extraordinarily gifted, and thanks to incredible diligence and passionate zeal, she won first place among the applicants to the Academy of Mages. The hero says that they often quarreled. He, as an aristocrat, could not lose to her. That boy further says that she herself willingly accepted his challenges, because she had a burning desire to defeat the influential aristocrat. He says that in their clashes they did not hold back at all, but surprisingly, their relationship was harmonious, and before they realized it, feelings had already blossomed between them. He says that because of their different origins, both families were categorically against their relationship, but you can't command young hearts, they insisted, and did get married. The woman instantly understood what it was, and the character replies, "It is written on it, grimoire." She explains that this is the first book on ice magic. For beginners, ice magic is available to everyone. The aristocrat says, "Since I was born into the Aldecheim family, at least I should know this, but even that is not enough." The girl asks about name options, and the man replies that he hasn't thought about it yet. The sorcerer sits at the table, thoughtfully pondering something, and says, "Sounds good, it will suit both a boy and a girl." The doctor says that the lady is in critical condition, and if nothing changes, he will not finish the story. They say Ramina was never healthy and it was inevitable. The gentleman asks her not to say anything, says that everything is fine. The man with a smile says that they have a wonderful doctor and midwives, and he will be nearby, adds that he came up with a name for their baby Noah, and asks what her name is. The woman says, "I like the name Noah, it is so beautiful." Rain says with pain that he will not see his son's face when he is born, and apologizes to her for constantly causing her trouble. The characters firmly hold hands, a quiet, sincere sign of their love for each other. The girl also says that she loves him. They say that shortly after this, Riene gave birth to a handsome boy, but she herself left this world. He begs not to be left alone, his voice trembling with anxiety and a palpable dependence on her presence. The man understands that he should love Noah just as he loved the late Riene and be a good father to him. He admits that he could not accept her death, and this deeply undermined his psyche. The aristocrat notices in the child an incredible magical power, one he had never seen before, and this deeply impresses him. The wizard feels that the girl gave herself for the birth of this boy, so he became extremely valuable to him. They say he protected his psyche by placing all the blame for what happened on his beloved Antinoa. The man is confident that this child, thanks to his unique magical power, will become the most powerful mage in the world. They say that 5 years after his talent was discovered, he never managed to finish speaking. He says with pain and disappointment that his dream was shattered in just an hour. Mr. Hildegand admits that he tried to harm his child from Riene. He admits that he considers himself the worst father in the world. The man recalls how he treated Noah and realizes some of his actions can no longer be undone. He turns to his son's surprise and uncertainty on his face. The girl says that erased memories can no longer be restored. A shadow flashed sharply, tension hung in the air, and he said that he had still found them. The monster asks if they enjoyed deceiving him. The woman warns others to be careful and avoid danger. She screams for everyone to run, her magic is not enough, and she is unable to resist the spirit of darkness. The enemies explain why they believe he will let them go. The enemy warns the people of Run are about to disappear and threatens, nothing will change. The man asks himself what he is doing, and doubts and anxiety grow inside him. He says that he left the girl alone so she could defend herself, and asks himself why he is running away. Mr. Hildegand hesitates about what to do next, wrapped in confusion and indecision. The father imagines looking into his son's eyes when he opens them. He feels that he has always treated him without understanding and asks himself what good deeds and apologies will give now. The hero whispered that the best thing is simply to disappear from this world. The spirit of darkness laughs and calls the people of Run fools. The monster quietly offers the character to give him his son supposedly. Only this way can he be saved. The heroine is firmly convinced that the spirit of darkness will not be able to possess the boy. The enemy loudly declares that even the king of the Rune people, although he inherited the power of the Book of Peace, cannot change the Turtle of Dreams because even the king himself failed. He orders to surrender and give a worthy report. Another figure begs to be released. Shadow says that his mind must be empty if he returned after such an event. Mr. Hildegund assures the other character that Noah is safe. He says that he set a barrier so that his son would be safe if something happened. He considers himself a nobody and painfully realizes that he himself destroyed his son's life. The aristocrat jumped up in surprise and suddenly understood. His life is worth nothing anymore. He feels that everything will repeat again if he runs away from problems once more. The hero admits that he could not cope with the loss of his wife Riene and blamed his son for it. The wizard decisively declares, running away is not even an option. He can no longer run away from his problems. He says that for the sake of his late wife Riene, he must love his son Noah and decides, this time he will live. The monster notices that the hero looks strange. He thinks there is no point in dealing with such a worthless person. Mr. Hildegand says that he is still considered the strongest fire mage in the world. He says that such an evil spirit as himself will burn to ashes in his flame. The monster replies that this is all nonsense and asks Noah and Riene to forgive him for his actions. He also says that neither the glory of the magical Aldgheim lineage, nor the authority of its leader, nor whether magical talent is a success or failure matters to him. He calls upon the fire spirit scattered through eternity to respond to his call. The spirit asks the hero, do you think I will wait until you say the spell? He admits that he fell for the same trick twice and says that because of this he is a fool. The hero turns to the flame that has been burning since ancient times and calls it to himself to destroy everything. Supposedly he uses meteor flame, a level 10 flame limit, trying to repel the enemy. He says that he himself can do nothing against that magical turtle, invulnerable to dream magic, so he takes everything. The father looks at Noah and says that now he must act because the father himself is no longer able to continue the fight. The girl admiringly calls the hero's magic magnificent, and someone notes that even as a human he succeeded. The monster says, who would have thought that someone like him would make me reveal myself? He notes that this is the first transformation in 100 years, and the creature calmly says there is nothing to fear, it will end his suffering with one bite. Someone apologizes to Alexia, saying with pain in his voice that he stayed too long. The boy spoke, recognizing in the creature the very same spirit of darkness he had once heard about. The boy realizes the protection is removed, so now it is possible to inflict magical damage on the dream turtle. The main character asks in surprise what is happening here. He has many questions he would like to ask, but he understands that now is not the time to speak, and the girl notices a crack on the dream turtle's shell. The young man notes that the most powerful magic of Mr. Hildegand is already starting to work and warns. It is dangerous here, so for now it is better to step away from the shell. The character prepares to launch a decisive counterattack against the dream turtle. The heroes notice that the dream turtle's shell is beginning to crumble, although only partially. They understood that the process is ongoing and that there is hope for success. One of the heroes says that among all adventurers, only one is capable of such an impossible feat. The princess fervently urges the team to act now. If there is even the slightest chance of victory, it must be seized immediately. They say this old man with a beard and hat is the court archmage Lawrence himself. He released a level 3 lightning bolt and asked what was that. The mage says that the magic has begun to affect the dream turtle. She says that her resistance to magical attacks has not just decreased, it has started to work in reverse and now doubles the damage inflicted on her. The sorcerer continued to say that he had never seen anything like this in his life and that it was true they say you have to learn all your life. He saw a magical signal for help. The main character says that someone has to come and take his father away. Noah admits that he planned to sever all ties with his father, but says it is hard to imagine how memory erasure could have stopped working on his father. The girl says that her dad sincerely repented for how he treated him and even apologized. She admits that she did not catch everything said, but the story never concludes. The boy says that during his father's memory erasure, flashes of his father's memories flashed through him, and adds that he simply cannot forgive his father for the past. The boy says that her dad truly loved her mother. One of the heroes talks about another once he considered him indifferent, but now he understands that everything was completely different. The hero tells how at the most difficult moment, when his magical power was exhausted, he was saved, and honestly admits that without his father's help he could have been in danger. Noah decides to talk to his dad about how this battle will end. The boy offers to help Alexia with her wounds. She assures that she feels fine, although her condition causes concern, so he sternly asks her to sit down. The monster is impressed by how Noah managed to overcome the intricate defenses of the Turtle of Dreams. One of the soldiers shouts Fafnir, and another knight angrily warns the commander about possible danger and says that he himself could get hurt. They say the girl is an S-rank adventurer known as the Cold Mesa, and the wolf is supposedly the king of beasts Fenrir. The monster got angry upon noticing that Fafnir was controlled by someone else, and thought that now he was someone's pet. Mesa cannot contain her surprise. Is she the only one who keeps the S-rank monster under control, and who is really its master? The traveler can hardly believe his eyes. It's incredible that the mad dragon bowed his head before someone and asks Fenrir if he knows him. The king of beasts quietly admits that he has fought this dragon more than once in the past. The dragon noticed a familiar creature and wide-eyed with surprise exclaimed, "Is that the ice dog?" The wolf exclaims with joy, saying how nice it is to meet after so many years, and jokes that he might freeze the enemy for fun. Someone loudly calls everyone, "Focus on this battle with the dream turtle and be attentive." The warriors decisively say, "While there is a chance, we must inflict maximum damage on the enemy because his defense has significantly weakened." They say that magical means of restraint are already ready for attack. They notice that the dream turtle has frozen, and the girl says that they are shutting down one by one. They say that even slightly slowing down the enemy is already a great victory. The hero barely audibly says that any wound, even the smallest, is important for their victory. Knights call everyone to gather and continue the attack on the dream turtle with all their might. The girl says that long before the founding of the kingdom of Razd, not far from the place where they stand now, there was a huge city-state. The young woman says that the ancient city was called Karkisha, and it was inhabited by ancient Pepleth-run tribe. The traveler says that even now in the vicinity one can come across ruins of buildings remains of the ancient city Kirksis. The heroine recalls the famous sky tower. It is visible from the royal capital, and it rises to an incredible height. The soldiers are ordered to retreat. The operation is entering its final stages, and at this moment the dream turtle breaks through the last line of defense. The dragon reacted with surprise to the order to retreat and shouted, "Did someone not read the strategy manual carefully?" The character sincerely thanks Alexia for the permission to implement the plan. The princess confirms they must retreat. It is said that if he and Noah had not gone to those ancient ruins, they would never have met Alexia. Yuna concludes that the kingdom of Razd most likely would have been destroyed. It would not have withstood the giant monster that suddenly appeared, and adds, "Every action is the consequence of the previous one for a reason." The girl says that even for the dream turtle, falling under such weight can be dangerous, especially when its defense is weakened. The dragon, despite the difficulties, decides to continue the fight and boldly declares that he is ready to take on even greater responsibility. The heroines shouted in surprise, "Fafnir." The dragon says farewell to the Turtle of Dreams, and he realizes that he has reached the limit of his abilities and strength. He falls. They say the enemy no longer moves. The monster, full of disappointment and rage, poured out in words, "Who would have thought they toppled the heavenly tower? I spent so much time resurrecting it, but it turned out to be a great futile thing." He admits that he himself received an incurable wound from Noah's attack, and considers the situation terrible. He does not believe that everything can end so sadly. The enemy asks the Turtle of Dreams to give him his body. The heroes froze in amazement when they noticed that the creature had started moving again. The princess decisively orders all troops to retreat. She insists that they leave the kingdom's capital. Another character recognizes the princess with astonishment. The girl says that continuing the fight will only make the situation worse. The young girl insists, not only they will suffer, all the other inhabitants will suffer too, and she calls to evacuate people as far as possible from the capital. Misei feels that the situation is becoming serious. They discuss whether it will be possible to protect the elf village if nothing changes, and someone notices that this monster is already something like a god or a lord of demons. The enemy insists that the world is beginning to fill with human darkness. He says that this is exactly what he desires. Noah notices that the spirit of darkness has merged with the Turtle of Dreams, and stunned, thinks that he should have just dealt with it by striking the shell. The main hero decides to use the Book of Peace to weaken the enemy. They notice that the item did not appear, and this shocks and worries them. The girl, with a trembling voice, explained that the power used belongs to the king of the Rune tribe. She points out that he does not have sufficient access to continue using it. He is not even from the tribe, so he has few options. The boy asks what to do. The young man asks Alexia if it is possible to somehow strengthen his powers, and the girl replies that she does not know because the very fact that he inherited the power of the book is a miracle. The hero decisively says, There is no choice, he will have to act without the book, so he asks her to stay here. The traveler says, "If I do not go, the kingdom's capital will be destroyed." And Alexia, surprised and frightened, exclaims that he also has limits. The boy gently reminds the girl of his promise not to die, and this calms her. She shows her feelings more strongly, saying that she no longer wants to lose loved ones, especially after the tragedy with her father. And she says that she understood how to increase his access. Alexia bitterly realizes, after the death of her father, the throne of King Kirkishu is empty, and she, the princess of the Rune tribe, does not complete this story. The girl believes if they marry, the throne will go to him. The father turns to the girl and says that a kiss for them, the Rune tribe, is a very sacred thing, given only to the person who is truly dear. She begs Aldihima Noah to grant the Rune tribe eternal protection. The heroine sincerely apologizes that everything happened so suddenly, and says that they just decided to get married. The main hero expresses surprise and admiration for the power he feels. The girl says that the hero can now use the Book of Peace without any restrictions because he became the king of the Rin tribe, although he did it very roughly. She confidently says that with this power they will definitely win. The warriors understand they are in danger. The monster uses a vector change. One of the knights uses a skill and instantly fully heals. An OAA makes an indirect transition in space, leaving others in a different place. The creature sees that another character has blocked its path and decisively prepares to act. The enemy says he would never have thought that the Book of Peace would be summoned again by someone not from the Rune tribe, and adds that this is even better, he will deal with him and take the power of the Book of Peace. He mocks the hero and challenges him to a fight. The boy activates some kind of light beam that cuts through the darkness and rushes into attack. Then change the quantity. He uses multiplication, spawning an avalanche of swords flying into attack. The opponent just smiles and says this is a very amusing childish prank. The warrior suddenly pointed somewhere. His gesture instantly attracted the attention of the other characters. Above the Turtle of Dreams, a shining object was suddenly noticed. She rushed into battle with it, and the adventurers froze in surprise. The hero anxiously feels that the magic is disappearing. The monster coldly says that his skill in using the book does not matter. Without mana, he will be able to do nothing. Noah suddenly realizes that changing the laws of the world with the book requires much more magical power than before. He opens the book and finds records about how to restore magical power and overcome its upper limit. That guy claims that he can change. The girl and the rival froze in amazement, watching how he completely tames the dream turtle. The young man assures that as long as the Book of Peace is in his hands, the spirit of darkness has no chance to win, and the creature asks who he is. He doubts the hero's confidence because his old victory over the Rune King, the very one who also possessed the Book of Peace, surged from memory. They say the kingdom's capital was engulfed by darkness, and this frightens people. The hero notices the pages begin to darken. The enemy says he filled the very core of the world with his darkness, and now he will not be able to use the power of the book. The enemy threatens that darkness will engulf everyone, and the heroes are gripped by anxiety. The knight, overwhelmed by despair, says the situation is hopeless. Noah realizes that the book is now only black pages, and this shocks him and fills him with unease. He suddenly notices that the pages of the book are not just black, and he notices that they are strewn with tiny symbols, and this surprises him. He sincerely admits that he has never before encountered such an absurdly complex language, and this completely confuses him. The boy suddenly realizes the symbols on the pages of the Book of the World can be deciphered. The young man recalls his lonely childhood days when he developed the skill of deciphering, a skill that will now come in handy to understand the Book of the World. The monster declares its victory and rejoices. The hero says that in order not to let the darkness fall, he suddenly mysteriously falls silent. He says that he will use his absolute defense, the Turtle of Dreams. Noah believes that the world is a weave of symbols. The power of the book allows him to create anything. The enemy, with surprise, cannot understand how he still uses the power of the book. The hero explains that the shell of the Turtle of Dreams absorbs all kinds of magical power. Noah adds that it shoots magical power back. That boy says that the dark spirit made a mistake in choosing an opponent, and adds, if someone else were in his place, the world would already be under his influence as he wanted. The creature is stunned by the man's actions and does not understand how people can resist him at all. He notices, after the last battle, people have changed, no longer the same as before, and he has not changed at all. The traveler says that from the past to the present, many have inherited knowledge from books. Feelings were constantly passed down from generation to generation, and now we live on the pinnacle of all accumulated experience. He sincerely thanks the Book of Peace for its help and support. Noah abruptly cuts off the conversation. This is the end, and addresses the spirit of darkness.